a screen. Her smile, it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene. In the morning or the night, recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. Every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong.
Battle's got power, Florabella stands tall. Every drip, every drop, watch the haters fall. Channel sharp as thorns, ain't taking no mess. Scroll through her feet, feel that queen's finesse. Vines tangle tight, but Flora breaks free. Roots so deep, can't mess with her tree. From the mud she rises, roses from the dirt. Every comment section she lays down hurt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. From the garden green to the concrete wall, Florabella, unstoppable nature's child. Leaves whisper secrets, she's the loudest shout. From the channel buzzing, she never backs out. Seed of strength, through seasons she grows. In the face of doubt, her spirit glows. Cameras ain't a limit, she branches out. Thorns in her crown, she wears it no doubt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless.
Please talk to someone else, cause I can't talk to bro boy. I can't talk to bro boy. I can't talk to bro boys. I can't talk to bro boy. I can't talk to bro boy. No, I can't talk to bro boy. I can't talk to. That nigga's crazy. Hopping in bitch and I saw it to be. Snakes in the grass so they harder to see. My brother would give up his life to the O. He told me he'd go be a martyr for me. Said that she ready to corner the 6. I hit up Pauline and charter the P. Ain't really leave, but I'm back. I'm back, I'm back. I'm riding around in Atlanta with sad, cause that nigga been going harder than me. Nothing to change, I'm just harder to please. Ferrari is making an SUV. We ain't got a choice, we ordering these. Shout out Noel for recording the V's. He know where this shit about to go. Cause nobody touching the flow. They say you alone at the top, but it's gotta be lonely below. You just getting ready to diss, but don't even mention a hoe. And don't even mention a foe, unless you was trying to go broke.
Whoa, I got more strikes than Adidas.
Yeah, I got the stripes for fuck.
I don't chase bitches, I leave them.
Hoes screaming like I'm just
I don't get mad, I get even.
Bitch, you niggas like a pussy.
I don't get mad, I get even.
Bitch, you niggas, then you
Whoa, all that foundation she wearing, she thinks she QC. Telling I might sneak in with you with me. You must be Coach K, cause you ain't P. I'm on the jet like my last name Lee. 2 sticks in my hand like I'm playing a Wii. G-Block babies will spank you for free. We rough niggas up, now they begging for peace.
baby.
Stepping on shit out in French in my toe. Morning I told I'm so OVO. Halloween coming, he wanna dress up, but he don't need no costume. I'm turning on ghosts. She called me mucus, I stay in her throat. Still hit that boy, got his ass hitting notes. My niggas were mad,
So you know where this shit about to go. Cause nobody touching the flow. They say you alone at the top.
All right, let me change it. No sound. All right, thank you for letting me know. I'm like, what is going on over here? You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Because I actually cammed down and could see the same thing. So sorry, everybody. Just do me a favor as you're coming in, like, share, subscribe. Sorry for my very ghetto technical difficulties. Um, but like I mentioned today, I wanted to do another body cam review. But really, this is going to be a mixture of body cam, crime stories that I thought were told well, and other things like that. So we're going to start with the case of Sade Robinson. You're good now. Thank you so much. I've heard people pronounce it Sade, and obviously, my apologies if I pronounce it incorrectly. If I hear the proper pronunciation, I'll correct it. But we're going to start with her case because honestly, I didn't realize this case moved so quickly through the system. Like, I don't think there was a lot of media focus on this case. I think this case kind of flew under the radar, even though it was like really, really big. When we're talking about media attention, there was a lot of other cases that took the limelight, right? So even though he was just sentenced 9 days ago, it wasn't like major news, at least in my opinion, that I don't think like people were talking about this case as much, waiting for an outcome, evaluating. Like I definitely have been hearing people talk about it, but it's not been as loud as I need it to be, right? So we're going to start with the review from I'm Not a Lawyer, but because I think she did a really good job of breaking down the evidence, and I love when they do that in their videos. So let's get into this one here. If you guys would like to subscribe to her, please do me a favor and go do that. But we're going to get into her video here today.
But there was a trial that was happening while the Diddy trial was going on that you have to hear about. It was a circumstantial case out of Milwaukee where prosecutors say that this 33-year-old man named Maxwell Anderson took the life of this 19-year-old woman named Sade Robinson. And although there's no confirmed weapon, no eyewitnesses, and only parts of her body found, video surveillance, live through.
And let me just say too, Wisconsin in general, that's the home, the birthplace of what's Jeffrey Dahmer, other serial deleters. So, I mean, not very surprising. I'm going to say this, he looks like a caveman, with the very small, like, scrunched up face and everything. But yeah, this is definitely the home, the birthplace of serial deleters, some of the most infamous names. So, not making light of it, but, it's kind of ironic that she just met him at a bar one day, hung out with him a day before, survived, and then the next day he deletes her. So
360 and Maxwell's own movements made for a really strong circumstantial case. This is a journey, so let me give you the recap. To start off, here is a clip from the prosecutor's opening statements kind of setting up the case.
Sade Robinson was a 19-year-old young woman. She had an apartment on the Lower East Side, 1858 North Commerce. She was in school, she worked a job, she worked at Pizza Shuttle on the Lower East Side. That day, April 1st, 2024, Sade Robinson went to work at Pizza Shuttle. And she made plans to meet up with the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, that evening after work. And she wouldn't know it at the time that she left her apartment that morning, but she would never return.
So even though Sade was last seen on April 1st, 2024, the case really kicked off about 24 hours later on April 2nd, 2024, when this man was walking along the shores of Lake Michigan and saw something that made him call the police.
So what happened at the beach that made you remember this day?
We were walking down there and there was a severed leg.
What drew your attention to the leg?
It was a pretty narrow path, so it's kind of hard to miss. At first we thought it was like a mannequin leg, but then we got a closer look and realized what it really was.
What did you do?
We went up pretty much immediately, called the cops, and that's all I really remember from that time.
Footage from the body-worn camera of one of the officers who came to the scene was played for the jurors. And just to be clear, you won't be seeing anything gruesome at all during this video.
Where are we?
So we're at the bottom of the hill. Right now I'm facing north, looking down towards the beach.
What's up, man? So this is Evan Millies. We've dealt with him before. Sometimes mostly a good guy. He's gotten into trouble a couple times, but good dude. Okay. So they walked down the S curve from Sheridan, started walking south just for fun, rough day on the beach. As they were walking, see that leg right there? Yeah. Said that it was up about approximately where the end of that stick, branches. By the bushes, right there. Yeah, bushes, said that they saw it up
So it's like up on the hill, kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
So said that him and his buddy who's in my squad right now walked out, called us, and then when we came back, there was about, maybe 7 feet east by the rock. I moved it just for evidence purposes.
Okay, so this gets put away?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I documented it all on body cam, different angles of where it was.
Okay, cool. All right, we got What's your name again, bud?
Evan.
Evan? Okay, Evan. How long were you out here?
About probably an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Okay. You usually come this way?
Yeah.
Yeah? It's the first time you seen anything here? Yeah. It's the first time you seen anything like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, Evan. Hang tight, don't go anywhere, okay?
Yeah.
So, while the leg was being discovered near the lake on the other side of town, Sade Robinson's friends, family, and coworkers were getting worried because she didn't go to work that day and no one heard from her.
Miss Young, were you familiar with somebody named Sade Robinson?
Yes.
Can you describe what your relationship was with her?
Friend and coworker?
Did you contact law enforcement on April 2nd, 2024?
I did.
Why?
Because I could not reach Sade and she had not shown up to work that morning, and that wasn't like her, and I was scared. Because it wasn't, if she was even going to be late, she would text me or call. And when I messaged her, I said, please just text me and let me know you're okay. Because she doesn't have to come to work. She doesn't have to answer her phone. But I just wanted her to let me know that she was okay. And I knew she would if she could. I texted her and I went by her apartment. I just pulled into the parking lot, looked for her car, didn't see it. Spun around, sat there for a minute, hoping that I'd see her, and when I didn't, I drove to the police station. I asked them if I could file a missing persons report, and they told me that first they would have to do a wellness check. And I said, okay, and I gave them her address, and they said they would send somebody out, and they would contact me and let me know what happened.
And I'm just going to say this, like, shout out to having people that are close to you, that know your regular movement patterns, that talk to you, right? It's really easy for somebody who's independent, lives on their own, kind of goes about their everyday on their own, to fall through the cracks, right? If they're not used to checking in with people or having regular contact with people, right? Always, if you, yeah, he took no accountability, Empress. This one was like yucky. That's why I had to watch this, because it's like there's so much CCTV footage that is kind of proving who he is and what he did. So for him to take no accountability is just insane. Um, but yeah, like it's really good to have people that care about you, that know your whereabouts and your movements and your frequency of movements. Like they know you don't miss work, they know you don't not answer your phone, things like that. So it's really important to have at least some people. It doesn't have to be a typical situation. You know what I mean? There's no shame in this where it has to be like, oh, you need a family, you need a husband. No, have people who know your whereabouts, who know the frequency of contact to expect from you, to know what's normal, what's out of the ordinary. Right? That's really important at the end of the day. So, do you guys like my background? I have a rain machine over there. It's very relaxing. Um, but yeah, I've been working on the background. All right, let's continue.
So you have the leg on the lake, and then you have Sade missing. But what also happened on April 2nd was around 8 a.m. that morning, there were reports of a car being set on fire.
And when you arrived there, what did you observe?
A car burning behind the building located at 30th and Lisbon. I believe that the fire was in the passenger compartment where all the seats are located in the trunk area.
Was the Milwaukee Police Department also sent to the scene?
Yes, I requested them because the fire appeared to be suspicious. This address is a vacant building. It's no longer there. It's been demolished, and we had been using that building for training for a number of months prior to that. There's no reason for a car to be back there. Like no one would park a vehicle back there normally. We've had instances in past where there are cars that were burned back there, and they were also, suspicious.
This is a body cam, right?
Yes, that would be my personal body camera. So I always double check and write down the VIN number of the vehicle and the license plate as well, just to make sure that they match if I run the license plate or if I run the VIN. And when I ran the license plate and the VIN of this motor vehicle, it listed to Sade Robinson.
So at first, it wasn't clear that any of these incidents were connected. But once police reached out to Sade's family, they learned that she had the Life 360 app, and it starts to connect some dots for them.
Did you share your location with Sade?
Yes.
Did Sade share her location over Life 360 with you?
Yes.
When you found out that Sade was missing, did you ever check Life 360?
Yes. That she was at South 40th Street at 12:48 a.m. to 3335 North Gordon Place at 1:38 a.m. Yes. 201 to 253. That she was at that location from that time. 3:24 a.m. to 4:35 a.m.
In addition to being able to...
He was actually sentenced on August 1st, I believe. So yeah, I think that it actually passed. So it definitely happened already. Hey, Victorious One. Thank you everyone who's joining me here today. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe. But I believe he was sentenced on August 1st. Yeah, I think he got life without parole. So, especially because he didn't take accountability. So let's get into it. Let's continue.
Track Sade's move.
And it's interesting here, like, I'm going to go back really quickly. I forget what the name of this app is, Life 360. I've never heard of it. Like, until this case, I've never heard of Life 360. What could you guys tell me about it? I'm going to look into the app. But I kept hearing that pop up for the first time when I started hearing about this case, but I don't really know what that is. I don't have a lot of knowledge of what that is. All right, let's continue.
Down the VIN number of the vehicle and the license plate as well, just to make sure that they match if I run the license plate or if I run the VIN. And when I ran the license plate and the VIN of this motor vehicle, it listed to Sade Robinson.
So at first, it wasn't clear that any of these incidents were connected. But once police reached out to Sade's family, they learned that she had the Life 360 app, and it starts to connect some dots for them.
Did you share your location with Sade?
Yes.
Did Sade share her location over Life 360 with you?
Yes.
When you found out that Sade was missing, did you ever check Life 360?
Yes. That she was at South 40th Street at 12:48 a.m. to 3335 North Gordon Place at 1:38 a.m. Yes. 201 to 253. That she was at that location from that time. 3:24 a.m. to 4:35 a.m.
In addition to being able to track Sade's movements from the Life 360 app, police also get access to Sade's phone records and learn that she made plans to meet up with someone after work on April 1st.
So that would mean this message was sent at what time?
It would be at 4:15. States, where are we meeting? So after the first text message, where are we meeting? The reply stating, I can do 5.
So that those two both came from Sade's phone?
Correct.
Okay. The response from the 262 number is what?
Response is, downtown somewhere, question mark.
Okay. How does Sade respond?
Okay.
The 262 number sends 2 consecutive messages to Sade reading what?
Okay, I'm going to shower quick. I'll probably get there more around 5:15. And then, are you hungry, question mark. I need to stop at Twisted Fisherman to pick up my W-2 from last year, and we could eat there first.
How does Sade respond to those 2 texts?
Okay and yes. Let's eat at Twisted. I'm feeling seafood.
How does Sade respond to that?
Yes, I love seafood.
What does the 262 number say next?
Sounds good. I'm about to leave. I'll be there soon.
So police start following the route from Sade's Life 360 app to go around and collect surveillance video, and it paints a really interesting picture, starting with April 1st.
And the thing about these like location tracking apps is they're not really like life-saving apps, right? They're not preventative measures. They're simply going to be recovery tools, and I'm saying simply loosely because yes, it's great to find your family member, right? But it's nice that some of these apps add an element of like safety, like okay, they're leaving a location, and if it's late at night or if it's a wrong time of date, sending an alert to somebody, that's a very great thing for them to implement there. His parents enable his behavior. Yeah, I heard he's very wealthy. First, I heard he's a very, very wealthy bandit. So, but I always think of like sharing your location. So when someone shares the location with you, you can see where they are, but there's not really a lot of like updates on safety. It doesn't give you the ability to like alert or anything like that. So, his parents enable his behavior. Yeah, I was hearing that he's kind of some rich white guy. His parents are loaded. So let's keep going though.
Around 9 a.m., Sade is seen leaving her apartment to go to work.
This is April 1st, 2025, and roughly 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's Sade leaving?
That is.
She's got a black coat on, white top, looks like ripped jeans and white shoes.
That's correct.
She carrying anything in her hands?
It's like her cell phone and keys in her left hand.
How about her right?
Her right, it looks like she's got a shoulder bag, looks to be darker color.
It's 11 seconds long.
She is currently walking north to her vehicle through looks like the center of the lot. So she's entered her vehicle and now it's making a partial U-turn to go to the exit of the lot, which is north on Commerce Street.
Okay, detective, what are we looking at?
It's just parking. And again, that's underneath the actual restaurant itself.
And this is the video from Pizza Shuttle you recovered?
That's correct.
Is that her getting out?
That is correct, yes.
Nobody else gets out of the car?
Correct.
All right. And this would be right after she left her car?
That is correct.
So she arrives at work at around 9:16 in the morning?
Correct.
Around 4:15 p.m., Sade's phone records show that she and Maxwell Anderson begin texting about their plans to meet up after work. They settle on meeting at a bar called Twisted Fisherman. Maxwell Anderson arrives first after he takes an Uber.
And as I'm looking back, guys, just pay attention to all the facts of this case, but just think about the fact that he takes an Uber there, right? Why would he take an Uber there? Maybe he doesn't have a car. I don't think that's the case with this man. He's obviously wealthy, but that was now that I'm looking back on this case, taking an Uber there, being carless, that was a strategy in itself, right? So pay attention to that fact. Let's continue.
And then about 10 minutes later, Sade arrived. She had driven herself there after she got off work in her blue Honda Civic.
So by 5:21, they're seated together at the bar.
Correct.
So Maxwell and Sade hang out for a while, they get some food, they get some drinks, and then they leave Twisted Fisherman at 6:24 p.m. and head to another bar called Duke's on Water.
This is 6:36:08 p.m. It's a 1-minute clip. What are we seeing?
You are seeing the two individuals that got out of the Honda Civic walking up to Duke's and going inside Duke's.
At 6:36 p.m.?
That is correct.
So the two of them stay at Duke's for a few hours.
So this man went to a bar with her, had pretended to have a good time, whatever. Took her to another bar, pretended to have a good time, and this is all caught on camera. It is hard to watch. I'm sorry, Victoria. It's hard to watch because we know her fate. We know that she's not going to survive this night, and seeing it on camera is like surreal. The fact that he thought he'd be able to get away with this after doing it is crazy. Yeah, it is very sad. It's not the first. Yeah, there's no way. I'm telling you, down to the strategy of going to the restaurant, bar, whatever, without his vehicle, taking an Uber there, that was all part of the strategy. That was all part of the strategy in terms of this case here. I think that he had no intentions that were well for her. There was no point in the night where he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna delete her," right? He simply had that intention going into it. When he met her, that was his intention. When he invited her out, when he planned the second meetup, it was his intention to delete her. There was no occurrence in the evening that led to that. There's no justification, nothing. She did nothing to him. We just see her spending time with him, having a good time. But let's keep watching because this CCTV footage does shed light on their evening.
At one point, Maxwell steps out, they play some beer pong, and then around 9 p.m., Sade and Maxwell leave Duke's.
The game is over or about to be over, and eventually you're going to see them shaking hands. They're eventually going to hug, and Sade and Mr. Anderson are going to leave.
And Duke's is on this upper corner here in the right.
That is correct.
Playing this clip, it's 56 seconds. What are we seeing?
The same individuals that got into the Honda Civic exited Duke at approximately 9:03 p.m. and are now walking southbound on Water Street.
And he puts his arm around her there, correct?
That is correct.
And they continue walking?
Yes.
She's not stumbling or anything, is she?
No, she is not.
Now, according to Live 360.
And that's the sad part, right? Like, took her out, went to multiple bars, met up with friends, makes a move on her. The whole intention here is to delete her. There is no good intention. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe there's anything that we're going to see in the CCTV footage that shows an altercation or a moment of offense, right? This man's flat out just denies it because he has no excuse for the fact that nothing happened in the moments that he was with her and he was the last person seen with her.
And video surveillance, Sade and Maxwell arrive at Maxwell's house around 9:25 p.m. But because when they arrived it was nighttime, the detective talking about this first gives a reference for how the house looks in the daytime.
You can see that this is the defendant's residence, and you have which is an upper-lower duplex. The defendant occupies, we knew that the defendant occupied the upper of this residence. This is the front bay window or picture window, if you will, where we do see movement in there. And then over here to the left of the screen, which is going to be the south side of the residence, you're seeing a fenced area, and then you see this overhang here. The entry door that is the only door that leads to the defendant's unit is here. There is a second back gate there that leads to that alley that we saw before.
The next set of clips are when Sade and Maxwell Anderson arrived at his house and what happens after. It's hard to see, so pay attention. Also, the timestamp is off about 1 hour, so keep that in mind.
April 1st, what time?
At 9:20:08.
And what do you know from the other camera happens here?
The victim's vehicle drives past the front.
Right there?
Yes. You'll see a motion light illuminate in the back alley there, and then you will see the gate open. That's where we see the motion light activate.
This light right here?
Correct. And then the gate just opened, and then you see human figures moving into the gate.
Okay, I'll back it up a few seconds. Tell me when the motion light goes on.
And I guess this is why they call it circumstantial, right? The fact that there just happens to be evidence of people coming in late to his place, evidence of movement, her vehicle being in the particular location of the CCTV and things like that. I would say, okay, this is circumstantial, but it's pretty cut and dry, right? She spent time with him. The app shows her reaching his house at a particular time. The camera shows it. Moment they show up, there's, motion sensor camera. This is an open and shut kind of case, but he denies his culpability, right? So let's keep looking. Is there evidence that he killed her? I believe so.
Right there, you see the light illuminate there. And then you see the gate swing open, and you see human movement into the gate.
What kind of movement?
Human, or you see silhouettes, I guess.
Okay.
In this clip, you're going to see that the lights come on in the upper. Right there, you see a background light come on first, and then you see the main light come on in the front window. In this particular clip, there is just human or silhouettes moving in the upper unit.
That you can see?
Correct.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right, where is it?
Right here.
Okay.
And then it just moved out, and then you do see it in the background light as well.
Do you see more movement?
Yes, you continue to see movement. Appears to be human silhouettes interacting.
Can you tell what's going on or no?
No.
And for context, here's a clip of what the inside of Maxwell Anderson's house looked like for the area that this movement is happening in.
All right. So if we're looking out towards 39th Street, that movement in the window on the video that's to the left side, it would be where here?
It would be here on the right side.
Okay, near that red couch?
That is correct.
And then when we're seeing that movement in the brighter area on the right side of the front window, what area would that be?
That would be more consistent with over here.
Above that ottoman?
Correct.
So there continues to be movement in that center window for a few hours, and then around 11:40 p.m. on April 1st, there's movement near the back door.
What are we going to see here?
This is the one time that you do see the back door open, and you're going to see the light on in the back door there.
Does it appear someone goes in?
It does, yes.
By 12:05 a.m., so now we've moved on to April 2nd, Maxwell Anderson.
And this is the thing, right? They're not going to catch perfect footage of what he's doing, him mutilating her, whatever the case ends up being. But the fact of the matter is, there's movement in your house. She comes to you, with you to your house. She has the Life 360 app on. There's movement in your living room for hours, and then you're leaving, right? You're taking her vehicle. And this is what we're going to see as we come up on this. But it's just crazy that he didn't take any responsibility for any of this. They barely talk about his defense here, which I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because he was just convicted. We know the facts of the case here. I don't know how defense attorneys sleep at night. Yeah, to me either. You know what I'm saying? Even if they lose at the end of the day and they don't win, it's how could you even defend somebody like that? Let them get a public defender. Let them be, get a fair enough trial to be convicted, but, not go free. All right, let's continue.
Phone now has pictures of Sade Robinson incapacitated.
12:05 to 12:08 a.m., what do we know is happening? We know that Maxwell Anderson is on his phone, traversing his photo gallery, where he has, by 12:05, already acquired pictures, already taken pictures of Sade Robinson incapacitated on his couch. She is face down. Her face is buried in his couch cushion. He has her breast exposed, and he is grabbing her.
And then around 12:45 a.m., there's movement in the back again, and then what appears to be a car being unlocked.
Did you see anything just then?
Yes, it appeared as if there was like a flash of light in the back alley back there.
How many blinks of light?
Appeared to be 2.
2 blinks.
Correct.
Like someone hitting a key fob?
Correct.
I'm gonna back it up.
Right there, 1, 2. So that's at 12:45 in approximately 20 seconds.
And from there, the car is on the move again. It wanders around kind of aimlessly until about 2:40 a.m. when it starts heading toward the lake.
We're looking at 12:53 and 39 seconds. This is the Honda Civic that we believe to be Miss Robinson's vehicle.
And what do you notice about the windows, if anything?
So they appear to be fogged up or a heavy condensation on the windows.
What's happening now?
In this view, the vehicle is continuing north.
Her vehicle is entering now, and it is traveling north.
Right there.
Is it the vehicle over here on the right side?
Yes.
Do you see it?
I do.
Where?
On the off-ramp.
I paused it at 2:38:24. Is it where I'm circling here?
It is.
What are we looking at? What's the street here?
So this right here is Lake Drive. All right, and then you can see that it's a dark-colored four-door sedan.
By 2:52 a.m., which again is now the early morning hours of April 2nd, the car makes its way to the lake, but there's a service gate blocking the entrance to the lake. Through their investigation, police later discover that this gate had been rammed open with a car, and because pieces of that car had been left behind, the crime lab was able to match those pieces to Sade's car. And video surveillance shows somebody walking down to the water and staying down there for about 2 hours.
So this would be about 2:53 a.m. real time?
Correct.
All right.
The lights are now coming on towards the left side.
Okay. This would be about 3:02 a.m. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I want you to point it out, Detective, when you see it.
And now walking.
You know, the crazy part is, like, I'm not going to go and listen to it, but how would you account for your time in all of this, right? Movement in the back of the house, car leaving, car ramming into where pieces of her body is found. I mean, you're going to say she walked there and mutilated herself? He doesn't have a good counter story. Like, there's literally no evidence that anybody but him was the one that did this, you know.
In between these 2 trees. And right here again, in between the other 2 trees.
Does it appear he bends over right there?
Yes, sir. And now the individual, the silhouette, is standing behind the tree and is going to walk back towards the tree line and will no longer be visible. We're going to see that same silhouette, and it's going to be entering the same area that we saw before, except this time we'll see the silhouette going down towards the beach level and exiting camera. I can already see a little bit of the disruption as the shadow walks through, and the silhouette's now visible in between the trees. And now the silhouette appears.
Yeah, look at the receipts. Look at how these CCTV footage will catch you in 4K, okay? It will catch you in 4K. Nothing goes unnoticed these days. Nothing. Right? We're so lucky to have all these different cameras. I know a lot of us don't like technology and the invasiveness of it, but this is life-saving. Or this aids in saving. Well, actually, you know what? It does aid in saving other lives, right? Because if nobody had found out that this man had did this, mind you, there's only circumstantial evidence. There is not a piece of DNA evidence, and that should tell you something, right? That should tell you something about the frequency that this man probably engages in this behavior, right? And the likelihood that he could do it again and nobody would know. Right? He almost got away with this case. Almost. Let's continue.
to be hunched over. There are rocks and other things to climb over in that area. The silhouette then moves down and disappears from camera.
We are at, according to this clip, 5:04:14, and you indicated, I think, that we're about to see that figure ascend the bluff.
Yes, that is correct.
Is this the last time the silhouette appears to come up the bluff?
It is. Right there at the bottom of the screen, at the bottom of the bluff, you can start seeing the silhouette walking back up into the trees.
Does it appear he has anything on his back?
Yes, and I observed the backpack or something appearing to be on his back.
And in case it's not clear, the leg was found in that same area a few hours later. So the car then leaves this lake area around 4:30 a.m. and wanders around the city again.
Is this?
It is April 2nd, 2024 at 4:59 and 29 seconds.
From here, the car isn't seen on camera for a couple hours, but when it is seen again, it's pulling into an alley, and then the next camera shots show two women seeming to react to it being set on fire.
This is going to be the vehicle right here. As you can see, there's damage to the passenger side mirror.
Paused at 9:56. Did two individuals just enter the frame from the bottom?
Yes, these two right here.
Okay, one of them has a LeBron James jacket on, correct?
Yes,
And the other holding a large umbrella.
yes, that is correct. There's the subject crossing as the bus going by. As you can see, this person has stopped and begins to back up. When you see the other subject up here begins to run backwards, or run back. She then points in the direction of from where, or the subject walking from behind the building.
Who did that? Bravo! The cover is coming slow! That's fucking okay. Somebody to call an ambulance!
Says call the police, call an ambulance.
Hey! Hey! Call the fire department! Hey! Call the fire department! Call the fire department!
This is literally out of a nightmare, right? For him to set the car on fire and then walk away, run away, just be able to get away and nobody really know who he is or, get the police involved in that moment. Now, they did end up putting this together later, but imagine how many times, again, that he would have got away with this. It's pretty crazy. Also, their reaction is very human.
And here's another angle.
This is the woman with the umbrella up here?
Correct.
The woman with the LeBron James jacket is behind this tree?
Yes.
Okay, playing from there. 7:30:06. Do you see the subject with the backpack?
Yes, so you can see the backpack a little more clear here. It's going to be a tan camouflage backpack. And then you can also see that the tops of his shoes are also that almost similar tan color.
And as I advance the video, the bus has now passed, what, 30th Street?
Correct.
And what do you see in the upper left?
That would be the Miss Robinson's vehicle becoming more engulfed in flames.
Okay.
Then cameras catch that person that was seen walking away from the scene, heading to a bus stop.
You can also notice the soles of the shoes appear to be white, like a bright white sole, or a lighter colored than
Just going to zoom in on him. The soles, you're talking about the shoes down here, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And are you able to catch glimpses of his face there?
Yes, he appears to be a white male, and also with the backpack appears to be a large.
And look at this weirdo. So this is why I say this was a whole structured, planned deletion, right? Because for this to play out, you had to have planned this. Take her to your house, 9 o'clock. By midnight, you're gonna be done slicing, dicing, cutting, and slipping her up, right? Now that you got her up, you got her in the back of the car, and now you're seen driving the road 1, 2 in the morning. You go to the park or wherever, you throw pieces there, right? Then the car is seen driving again. At none of those points would Sade been alive. She would have to have been deceased, right? She would have had to have been. But yet, you, the only person who was with her, who took her home, is driving that car around town. And then your stupid ass waits till daytime. And I'm not saying stupid because I didn't want this to happen. I'm saying the arrogance to think that you can deny your culpability in this, and you're seen the next morning after catching a bus in the middle of the night, early morning, in the same area where pieces of her body was found. Like, this is the arrogance of this is insane, to sit here and deny culpability. You know, I'm glad that the judge dealt with him the way she did. Let's continue, though.
Large military-style rucksack.
So this one is 8:07 a.m.?
Yes. In the next clip, you're going to see him standing at the bus stop until the bus comes.
What just happened?
He made a move towards getting on the bus.
It is 8:12 and 15 seconds, so 8:12 in the morning.
What about you?
Is that not you, you ugly ass caveman looking ass bandit? Is that not you? Like, I'm the judge must have been thinking, this man thinks I'm Boo Boo the Fool to sit up here and play this innocent game after all of this evidence. Call it circumstantial, what you want. Is that not you? Is that not you, caveman? I mean, this is pretty clear, direct evidence. He's in the area where pieces of her body were found. Taking a bus randomly. Why would you take an Uber to a date? This is exactly why. So you can abandon her car, right? So you can have her drive you guys home.
All right, detective, the subject did what in those clips?
He enters the bus, he puts $2 into the machine, and he asks the bus driver if the bus is going south. And the bus driver tells him it is.
Okay. Playing at 8:30:06. Paused at 8:33:35. What's happening now?
He is approaching the front door of the bus to get off. He approaches the driver and asks him if he minds if he gets off there. The bus is currently in the middle of the street, so he would not let him get off there.
In the middle of the street. Next block.
He's exited the bus?
Yes.
Okay. Which camera would that be on?
That one, the curbside, sorry.
Okay. This one doesn't have audio, right?
Correct. So the subject continues to walk northbound along 35th Street, and then he goes out of range.
And like for me, what justification do you have for this? Right? Why are you randomly walking through your neighborhood after having taken a bus at the butt crack of dawn from the place that pieces of her body was found after you went on a date with her? Like, some criminals are just really arrogant to really think that you're going to play dumb in this case. Say, I know I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Didn't do it. I mean, you were caught in 4K by regular CCTV footage, people's backyard cameras. They caught you.
I have it paused at 25 seconds. Are you able to see the clothing that the subject is wearing?
Yes.
All right, what kind of clothing?
The clothing is consistent with the subject that we saw exit the bus, the dark colored hooded sweatshirt or jacket, dark pants, dark shoes with a white sole, and then a tan backpack. And we are, this right here is going to be the defendant's residence.
What is the date and time in real time?
Sure, it's going to be April 2nd, 2024 at 8:42 and 56 seconds.
What are we going to see?
We're going to see that same person that we see in the alley, and they're going to come through this gate here. You're going to see the gate open. You're going to see the subject consistent with that same person that we saw in the alley.
Is that the gate opening?
It is.
What do you see?
And you see the person enter wearing the black or dark hooded sweatshirt with the hood up, and then you can see the person is wearing that tan backpack.
All right, I'm going to back it up to the beginning, playing it again.
And this is one of those examples where we happen to catch a sick individual on camera. We happen to catch the crimes of a demented serial deleter, right? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. That's why this was captured, regardless of the fact that there was no DNA evidence. For all intents and purposes, we don't really have anything physically connecting him to the scene other than his whereabouts, other than the Life 360 app information. Right? I love that this video breaks down the evidence, the CCTV footage, the physical viewing evidence that we have, even though we don't have DNA, even though we don't have fingerprints, even though we don't have blood, even though we don't have weapon, we don't have COD, right? We don't have any of that, but we have this, and this is not a coincidence. When it comes to crimes like this, there is no coincidences, right? 9 times out of 10, that thing that you're seeing that connects somebody to a scene in a strange way usually is a sign of somebody's involvement. This is not a coincidence. He wanted us to believe it was, though. It was meant for him to get caught. Exactly. Regardless of the fact that, again, we have nothing else but this. This is the receipts. This is what we need. This is enough. Right? He's the person who knew her, who was with her. He met her. He was the random in her life. Who else would it be? Right? She never emerged from his house. How crazy that she ran into this individual. Right? God rest her soul. This is a bizarre occurring for her. Very sad. I mean, from everything we're seeing, this is so sad because he blends right in. He blends right in with society. We wouldn't know, we wouldn't guess just by seeing him on a bus or seeing him walking down the street, right? Because a lot of the times, right, we typecast criminals and what they look like, but the person next to you can be just as much a danger. Maybe not to you, but to the greater and larger society. Let's keep watching, though.
Is he in the backyard still?
Yes.
About a week after all of this happens, police are in the area of Maxwell Anderson's house looking for some more video surveillance, and they decide to do some trash pulls. They end up looking in a neighbor's trash, and they find what appears to be the hoodie that Maxwell Anderson was wearing. And just to keep you straight here, Maxwell Anderson lived at 3161. The hoodie was found at 3169.
All right, so you found the sweatshirt behind this house? Yes, sir.
And what house is this?
3161 South 39th.
396 is on the screen right now. What are we looking at?
That's a photograph of the garbage cart and the recycling cart behind 3169.
Is that, which one of those is the one you looked in?
The left one. The green? The green.
Okay.
This is a photograph with the lid open, showing the sweatshirt at the bottom.
398.
And that's a close-up with the camera halfway down there, down the cart, showing the sweatshirt.
399.
This was me recovering the sweatshirt, and Detective Schimmel's taking a photograph of showing it, the whole front of it.
And 402, finally. What is that?
This is all the items out of the pocket. The blue and black Swiss Army knife, very small blade, that was in the lower left pocket of the sweatshirt. And then the other two matchbooks and that small keychain lighter, which the light did work, those were all found in the upper left pocket with that box of matches that fell out.
Maxwell Anderson was eventually arrested, and for days and weeks to follow, additional body parts were discovered around the city and confirmed to belong to Sade. Now, if you're like me and wondering how the did these two people meet, well, 2 days before Sade went missing, she went to a bar called Victor's, and that's where she met Maxwell Anderson.
And it's so sad. Like, safety is a frequency, right? It can change. At a certain time, you might be safe with somebody, you might feel safe, they might not be putting you in danger, right? But at the moment, and I don't know if frequency is the best word, but in another moment that can change. She met this man, she would have no reason to think, oh, the next day we hang out, he's going to delete me. Right? A lot of times as women, we have this naivety of like, oh, well, we survived the first date, that means we're well. But unfortunately, the world that we live in has reminded us that we can't be that naive, right? We do have to, at the back of our minds, still always question and be aware of our safety, our surroundings, of who we're dealing with and things like that. So it is kind of sad that she met him a day prior. But let's go into that footage.
That is the entranceway or front entrance, I guess, for Victor's Bar nightclub. In one of the clips, we will see Miss Robinson enter the bar and then go off screen. And then in another clip, we will see Mr. Anderson and Miss Robinson appear to exit the bar and go off screen.
Do you know what date and time approximately that clip is from?
Yes, March 29th of 2024, and I believe it's around 11:37 p.m.
Would have been the Friday night before Miss Robinson went missing?
Yes.
What do you see?
In the back right of the frame, I see Miss Robinson entering the bar.
She says hello to a bouncer or somebody?
It would appear to be a bouncer, yes. Coming out of the frame is Miss Robinson and Mr. Anderson. They exchange pleasantries with people at the door and then exit out the door to the parking lot or street.
All right, the blue box up here, these are the blue ones that we're going to see are Sade, right?
Correct.
So the first text, like you said, this is the one, it just says, the body of the text just says Maxwell.
Correct.
And then how does she respond?
With her name.
All right, so this would have been what date and time?
This would have been approximately 1:33 on the 30th.
That text chain continues on, showing them making plans to hang out, and then the final message between the two of them was sent on April 2nd, after Sade's car had been burned.
When's the next text sent?
The next text is sent on the 2nd, 4/2/24, approximately 10:36. My math is correct.
AM?
AM.
And by that time, are you aware of whether Sade's car had been burned?
Yes.
Was it?
Yes.
So he texts her at 10:36 a.m. what?
Morning, how's work going? Question mark.
Okay, now I admittedly didn't spend any time going over the defense's case, but during their opening statements, Maxwell Anderson's attorney highlighted that there was no motive, no weapon, and the amount of strength and tools required to dismember someone would be extreme.
I want to start by telling you guys that much of what Mr. Vance Curzan just talked about, we don't dispute. So a lot of this trial isn't in dispute. The timeline, the fact that Max met Sade, Max had met her, went on a date with her, that they went to the Twisted Fisherman, that they went to Duke's, that they were out together that night, that they went back to Max's house, none of that is in dispute. It's horrible what happened to Sade. It's horrible. Nobody deserved that. And what the state wants you to do is use the emotion of that along with this phrase like common sense, and use that emotion to convict Mr. Anderson. But I implore you in this trial, your most important job as jurors is to study the evidence closely that's introduced by the district attorney's office. There is absolutely no reason for Max to commit.
And at the end of the day, you could have played this game maybe in a different lifetime, right? But there's no way to explain his whereabouts, the activity at his home on the way, the activity at his home at the time that Sade was physically put there via GPS, whatever, Life 360 app, right? There's no way to dance around that. So while we can't find a weapon, right? We can't find DNA evidence. We can't find anything that connects him to the scene. This is not a coincidence. Him walking through the middle of the night, driving her car, leaving pieces of her bodies at certain places, being put in places that pieces of her body were found at. There is no way to explain this away, right? There's no way. I'm glad they did the right thing here, right? But calling evidence circumstantial like this, in a case like this, it would have been devastating for a family if they didn't get closure at the close of this, because this is so blatantly a case of a man taking advantage of a woman after he meets her. Right? He met her one day. Oh, we had a good time. Okay, see you next time. Let's hang out again the next day. And the next day you're ready to delete her already? I'm not saying there has to be a certain time frame, but Lord, what type of individual is this? This is somebody that needs to be out of society. Whether we can pin DNA evidence on him or not, he needs to be out of society. I don't think any of you want him in your neighborhood, around your kids, your teenagers, your family members, right? You don't want this person around because they can very easily blend into society after committing crimes like this.
A crime like this. And what I didn't hear was the theory of why Max did this, how Max did this. But I think what I heard in opening just now is that Max must have done this at his home. That seems to be the theory. If Max killed Sade in his home, if it happened in that location, as I think they're offering to you, there would be a mountain of DNA evidence. There would be blood. There would be some form of DNA. And you'll hear from medical examiners in this case, that at least one medical examiner who will testify about the sheer force that would be required to remove human limbs. That's no easy task. It's not the kind of thing that you do with a little Swiss Army knife. It's the kind of thing that you do with things like bone saws that they use in autopsies, no evidence of which Max has ever been in possession of or ever researched anything. They looked at everything about Max. Internet history, text message history. His text messages with Sade weren't deleted. They looked through his search history.
So because he doesn't leave stereotypical, pretty much dense, sloppy type of evidence like internet searches, weapons, DNA evidence, because he doesn't leave those things behind, we're supposed to believe that he just ironically happened to be involved in all this. He just happened to have her car at his house. He just happened to, be the last person seen with her. They just happened to leave the area of his home while she would have been deceased. All that is just happenstance. And look at this stupid caveman face. I mean, I wish Sade, I wish you would have seen, I wish you would have seen the bandit in him, versus give him a chance. But things like that aren't foreseeable, right? We're not psychics in real life. There's no way to predict the demonic nature of people. But look at this bandit to really sit up here and act helpless and hopeless. Like he just don't understand what's going on here. Dude, what's happening here is you got caught. You thought you were slick and you're not.
Has he researched how to cut up a body or how to kill someone? No, absolutely not. No evidence of that.
So after the 8-day trial, jurors reached a verdict on this case.
I will now read them into the record. As to count 1, the verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. As to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information. As to count 3, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of arson of property other than a building as charged in count 3 of the information. As to count 4, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of hiding a corpse as charged in count 4 of the information.
So Maxwell Anderson was found guilty on all counts, and he is scheduled to be sentenced on August 1st. So again, it was a circumstantial case, but that video surveillance was pretty strong. What do y'all think?
Yeah, so they call this circumstantial, but again, I don't think any bit of that case is circumstantial. I think it's pretty clear what was going on there. He was the only person that would have suspiciously done anything like that. He was the last person to see her. I mean, just sort of a kind of bizarre situation. So let me get up the next video. I know we spent a lot of time on that one, but the case of Sade Robinson always shook me, and to have all the details, or most of the details, finally laid out was very interesting. All right, guys, so we're going to get into the next case here. This is actually a case of parenticide, right? This is when a child is deleting their parent for whatever reason. There's an altercation, there's an issue, there's a disagreement, and that ends in the deletion of the parents. All right, so let's get into this case here. Trigger warning: if this type of material would make anybody uncomfortable, you're not interested in learning or hearing about it here today, feel free to click off. This will be a good time. The material will be triggering. All right, let's get into it.
I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now.
I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
Just after midnight this morning, our 911 communications center received a call from a young man who stated he had just killed his parents. He stated that deputies could find his parents at the house and that he had walked just over a mile away to a church, and he would await for deputies to arrive to take him into custody.
Through the investigative process, we did discover that he had called his sister prior to calling 911. And so that's some new information that we're going to have to track down.
When she lived at home, their family dynamic was normal.
We joked around with each other. We played a lot. We played video games with each other. We went to the movies. We were like your regular family. No issues at all whatsoever.
In 2019, 6 years before Brandy Smith Lee and her husband would be tragically murdered by their own son, Brandy shared a post on social media that now feels chilling in hindsight. She wrote, "This little boy gives me pure hell. Everything I did to my parents, I'm getting it back times 10. Y'all keep us lifted in prayer." Now, at the time, it seemed like a raw and honest moment between a mother and her child. Maybe Brandy was just venting or sharing a heartfelt thought with friends and family online. But now that post has resurfaced and it's getting hundreds of reactions, shares, and comments because people are looking back at it with a whole different lens. Fast forward to August the 4th, 2025. That same little boy, now 14-year-old Trevor Lee, would call 911 and confess to killing both of his parents inside their Middleburg, Florida home. Authorities say he then walked to a nearby church roughly 15 minutes away, where deputies found him and took him into custody without incident. And during that 911 call, Trevor had just one request for the dispatcher. He told them to pray for him. The Clay County Sheriff's Office confirmed that both Brandy, who was 45 years old, and her husband, David Lee, who was just 44, had been shot. Police say it appeared to be an isolated domestic-related incident. And in a new detail just released, investigators confirmed that before 14-year-old Trevor, called 911, he actually called his sister. Now, by all accounts, this seemed like a stable family from what their family and Trevor's best friend have said. It's a quiet household, but something happened that night that led Trevor to make a devastating decision. Now, while this is still an active and ongoing investigation, authorities say Trevor is talking. According to them, he's already told investigators.
Now, here's the thing, right? It's weird when there's these one-off situations. Like, what makes a child just snap, right? What causes a child to, okay, this is going to be the instance, or even a person in general? What is this cause? What causes that? All right, I'm going to delete you, or I'm going to act violently, or I'm going to attack you. What is causing that, right? In this case, where all the family, friends, everybody's shocked, either this is a very silent community that does not get in people's business and just kind of lets things slide under the rug, or this was an extreme case of one-off violence. Between the two photos, all right, I'm not gonna say nothing. Let's continue.
Investigators his side of the story and what he claims led up to the tragedy that unfolded that night. You're going to hear exactly what the sheriff is willing to share with us at this point. But of course, the moment this case hit social media, the internet had a lot to say and they are divided. Now, one person wrote, "The reality is, unless they," of course referring to the parents, "were both trying to actively harm him at the time, it's murder, not a mistake." And then someone else weighed in and they said, "Couldn't ignore the 911 call. To hear him requesting prayer on that 911 call melted."
Well, let me just say this. Sorry to say this. Religious people are manipulative, right? They're very manipulative. So do I think he could have used that? Pray for me, please. I need your deliverance. Could he have used that in a diabolical way? Yeah. Is he possibly a sociopath, psychopath? That's also possible as well. But I don't just buy the whole, oh, pray for me. That don't mean that you necessarily genuinely have sympathy, or maybe you understand your fate. Maybe you understand how people are going to look at you knowing that you deleted your parents, right? But from what we know, this is an isolated incident.
My heart. I pray God sees him through this time. Now, of course, some blame parenting, and what they said was, these kids need to hear no. This is what happens when you wait too long to hear that word. Now, what's interesting is keep this post in mind as you're listening to the sheriff and come back to this and tell me, what are your thoughts about what this person had to say? Now, while others urge compassion and patience, and by stating, before people start judging, let's find out what happened and what was going on in the house first. Now, of course, this case has struck a nerve. It's not just about what happened, it's about why it happened for a lot of people. And you're going to hear what the sheriff's office is willing to share with us. Now, before we get into the press conference, and the new interview from the Clay County Sheriff, I want to play for you the 911 call because it gives you a raw and emotional look into Trevor's mindset immediately after the tragedy. Now, you're going to hear in his own voice what he said after taking the lives of both of his biological parents and then leaving the house to walk nearly 15 minutes to a nearby church where he told authorities that he went to pray. Listen to this.
In this disturbing case.
Yes, deputies say after the shooting, Trevor Lee walked about a mile from his home over here to a nearby church where he then called 911. His words on that 911 call paint a heartbreaking picture of what happened next. This is where deputies say 14-year-old Trevor Lee waited after shooting his parents in their Middleburg home. He called 911 from Cross Point Church, about a mile away, and asked dispatchers for help and for prayer.
I'm gonna pray first. I need to pray.
You need to pray?
Yes, ma'am.
In the call, Trevor tells dispatchers he threw away his backpack and emptied his pockets while waiting for police to arrive.
I'm by the road. I threw my backpack away from me. I'm stripped. I'm waiting for police.
What do you mean you're stripped?
I have nothing in my pocket. I emptied my pockets and everything.
Inside the home, deputies found 44-year-old David Lee and 45-year-old Brandy Smith, both shot to death.
Very tragic, you know, it's kind of sad. They seemed like a loving family. They seemed to love their children and everything, you know. So it's kind of sad that this is how it ended. You know, it's also sad because the sister had no inclination or understanding of why this would happen, right? Friends have no idea. They believe he was consumed by somebody that they don't know, right? What would cause somebody to snap like this? Was he possibly behaving poorly behind closed doors and his parents were choosing to deal with him versus then let it spill out into his real life? I don't know. Right? I'm not really sure at the moment, but it's very tragic. He's 14, Gito. Gito said, dude, guilty at AF. You can tell by his hair. He's 14. Be serious. He's 14 years old. So I also had a similar thought process when I saw his face. I thought he looked crazy, but at the end of the day, he was 14, right? How many of us looked awkward at 14? How many of us look awkward at 20? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not something to be ashamed of that you have awkward faces in your looks and things like that. But I definitely think that this individual has a little bit more going on beneath the surface. I'm not sure. But the fact that everybody is so surprised by his violence, I don't know. I don't know. Usually there are signs, there are warnings, there's patterns of behavior. I just don't know. Bone says the F is funny. Dude, I can laugh whenever the F I want, right? TF, as you said. What was funny is different things. He's 14 minutes away from prison. Who? Yeah, honestly, this 14-year-old, I believe he might be charged as an adult, but we don't know. This is still very developing. He deleted his parents. This was in Florida. Anything can happen, right? So we'll see. Let's continue.
Death in their bedroom. Investigators say the teen used a gun that belonged to his parents and left it at the scene.
Sheriff's Office reported line. How can I help you? Hello, please. I need you some help.
In another 911 call, a caller from out of state tried to understand what could have happened.
I'm out of state. I'm in the military. I don't know what goes on. But they just had a good day. They went to the movies, bro. They went to the movies.
The sheriff says the shooting appears to have stemmed from an argument Sunday night. Deputies are now looking into Trevor's mental health and school history. He's charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. The 911 call Trevor made ends with a quiet moment and a request.
You pray?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, I'll listen to you.
Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am.
I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
And if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and like the video because it helps to push the coverage out so that other people can see it as well. Also, drop a comment and let me know.
Yes, make sure you guys go and subscribe to Shanitra Speaks. That is where I'm getting this lovely evidence. She does get it, and she's very thorough. So feel free to go like, comment, share, subscribe to her channel. And also do that for mine as well. So I'm bringing it here for a nice little review. All right, let's continue.
What are your thoughts after hearing that call? Now, keep in mind, authorities believe that after he committed this horrific act, that he left his house, left the weapon in the house, and walked to the church, which was about 15 minutes away, and you're going to hear that, okay? Now, you heard that 911 audio, and you probably noticed that there were 2 different calls that were released. One of those 2 calls is alleged to have come from Trevor's sister. And you heard in the call that she said, sorry, I'm out of state and I'm in the military. I don't know what is going on. They had a good day. They went to the movies. She seemed frantic. Now, that's important to note because in a follow-up interview after the press conference, the sheriff confirmed that Trevor called his sister, who's currently out of state and serving in the military. So it's believed that second 911 call came from her. And of course, those are her biological parents as well, which you'll hear in this news clip. But before we get into the full press conference, I'm going to play the news clip from Trevor's sister. So listen to this.
from the sister of the 14-year-old boy accused of shooting and killing his own parents. Deputies say after shooting David Lee and Brandy Smith, the teen walked to a nearby church and turned himself into law enforcement. Only Action Jack's Alexis Clevenger spoke to the woman hours after she lost her parents and saw her brother arrested.
Ayanna Russell is now without both of her parents.
I wish I can go back and thank her one last time, tell her I love you one last time, to let my dad know how much I appreciated him.
The Clay County Sheriff's Office says David Lee and Brandy Smith were shot to death early Monday morning. And their son, 14-year-old Trevor Lee, is charged with the killing.
I'm shocked, honestly. I'm taking a mental loss for words that this has happened.
Deputies say there was an argument last night between Trevor and his parents that led up to the shooting. And after the murder, Lee walked to a nearby church and turned himself over to deputies. Russell says when she lived at home, their family dynamic was normal.
We joked around with each other. We played a lot. We played video games with each other. You know, we went to the movies. We were like your regular family. No issues at all whatsoever.
And she says her brother was a good kid.
He's a bright young man. He wanted to become a football player. He was freshly coming into high school, a freshman. The kids loved him. You know, he had friends. Lots of friends.
She says she had no idea about the argument or any issues between her brother and parents. But despite this horrific tragedy, Russell says she still loves her little brother.
Did he make a mistake? Yes. He made a big mistake. A huge one. My little brother, he is not a monster.
Okay, so you just heard the interview from Trevor's sister where she defended him and said he is not a monster. He made a mistake. Now, keep in mind that she was not there when this happened. This occurred in Florida, and as we know, she lives in California. So all he could do in the moment was to call his sister after he left the home. There was about a 15-minute walk from his home to the church. And during that time, it's alleged to believe that he called his sister. Now, people online are already posing the question if the call was recorded, if the police have it. We don't know if the call was recorded. All we know is that he called her, and as a response to her calling him, calling her, whatever details he relayed to her, that prompted her to call 911, as you heard from that recording. So now I'm going to go ahead and play his best friend and then a cousin of his mother, who unfortunately, you know, she was one of the victims. So listen to this.
Kyrie Beeman says he was at this house nearly every week and considered the Lee family as his own. He says he and Trevor played football together, and just this past Friday, Trevor and his dad, David Lee, gave him a ride to and from practice. And now Kyrie is still trying to separate the friend he grew up with from the crime he's accused of.
I just didn't think it was real.
Kyrie Beeman, now standing outside of a home he once considered a second home, still trying to process the unthinkable. The Clay County Sheriff says a 14-year-old boy called 911, saying he had just killed his parents, then walked to a nearby church to wait for deputies. That teen was Trevor Lee, Kyrie Beeman's best friend.
He was funny, charismatic. He always brought good energy, good vibes, and he was probably one of the best people I knew.
Kyrie says he and Trevor had been friends since elementary school, and they spoke on the phone just after midnight.
He told me that he loved me, and he told me that he was just calling to tell me good night.
Now Kyrie is asking the community not to judge his friend by this one moment alone.
Happy person. I mean, just a good person all the way around.
James Lewis is cousins with Brandy Smith and says her family was like any other.
Every time I seen them laughing, you know, joking, doing family things.
2 parents gone, a teen behind bars, and a Millburg community now rattled forever.
The Trevor that did this, I don't know that Trevor. And the Trevor that I knew and all of our friends knew, I will continue to be friends with him. And I pray that that the Trevor that did this died last night.
You just heard from
Yeah, it's a little difficult with cases like this when you have nobody recognizing this level of violence at all, right? It makes you really think that there was something insidious going on, that nobody had an inkling about it. Nobody even saw a violent nature to him. You know, there might have been something going on in the household, but I'm not going to give that out right away without any evidence of that. Really, at the end of the day, the only thing we have to go on is the fact that he admitted to deleting them. There was evidence to such, and maybe we'll find out some more about his character and how he was behaving at school. I know when it comes to minors that delete their parents, a lot of times, unless they're found to be held as an adult, we're not going to know a lot about them individually, right? A juvenile's school records, things like that, are a lot of the times they're protected by HIPAA. So I don't know how much we're going to find out about this case. I know we'll probably find out a motive if there ever becomes one available to the police, if they ever come to the conclusion of a motive for this outside of a dispute that one day. We'll see. But hey, this is Florida. All right, let's continue.
Trevor's best friend. You also heard from a family member. Now, keep in mind that was two different news clips that I merged together, and I took out the part that gave the background on the story since we already previously heard that. Now, what everyone is saying is that this seemed like a good family. This is out of the ordinary. Trevor was a good person, that this did not seem like the Trevor that they knew. Now, keep in mind, all authorities have said up to this point is that an argument happened. And whatever happened, Trevor felt that the only option for him was to do this unthinkable act. So now I'm going to go ahead and get into the initial press conference where the details are going to be laid out. So listen to this.
This morning to report some just terribly tragic news. Just after midnight this morning, our 911 communication center received a call from a young man who stated he had just killed his parents. He stated that deputies could find his parents at the house and that he had walked just over a mile away to a church and he would await for deputies to arrive to take him into custody. Deputies responded immediately to both locations, the church and then to a home on out here in the Middleburg area. When deputies arrived to the church, they took 14-year-old Trevor Lee into custody. When almost simultaneously deputies arrived to the address in question, they found two deceased individuals inside, David Lee, 44 years of age, and Brandy Smith, 45 years of age. Both of the deceased appeared to have gunshot wounds. Based upon our preliminary investigation, and we're still very early in this investigation, it appears that there was some sort of domestic argument last night between Trevor Lee and his parents, and that this shooting culminated from that argument. This does appear to be an isolated incident, and we have no further threat to our community at this time. Again, this is a very active scene. Our detectives are working diligently to try to figure all of this out. We do want to extend our deepest sympathies to the family, the friends, and all of those who are affected by this heartbreaking incident. And we would like to ask anybody in the community that may have some information regarding Trevor Lee or his parents to please reach out to us at 904-264-6512. And with that, I will take any questions.
Did the teen have any prior mental health history? Anything like, visiting the guidance office at, school, or any therapy, any Baker Acts?
That we're looking into that. That's going to be part of the investigation. You think about this just happened at midnight last night, just after midnight, and we're here early Monday morning. So all of that is going to be looked at. His history at school, any previous contacts, we don't know right now, but that'll be part of the investigative process.
Just going by names alone, biological dad, do we have a relation with the woman?
I believe these are both his biological parents at this time. I know the father is for sure.
Just with different names, I was curious.
Correct.
Was it the parents' gun or was the kids' gun?
At this time, we believe it's going to be the parents' gun, but we're still, again, looking into that through, talking to him, finding out where the gun was, how he got hold of the gun, how did he know the gun was there. The gun was recovered at the scene. He left the gun at the scene when he walked to the church to call 911.
were they both shot just one single time, and if so, where?
That I do not know. Again, part of the investigative process.
And additionally, was there anyone else in the home, maybe a sibling who was obviously not harmed but was just in the home?
At this time, it appears that only Trevor.
And you guys are raising some very good points in the chat, right? Someone said, I seen a video of a kid who flat out lost it and destroyed a family home over the removal of a phone. Yeah, there is seeming to be more instances of just outbursts of violence, right? Sometimes there's might not be an identifiable motive / reason for the sudden outbreak of extreme violence. If it was some type of psychotic breakdown, there might be any type of rational reasons. Yeah, and there might be irrational reasons too, right? That just kind of played into the case here. Yeah, it's pretty sad. John said, "Who wants to pay for him for decades?" That's crazy. Condolences to both families. Humans like to rationalize situations like this to balance reality in the mind. However, there's sometimes no identifiable rationale. I agree with that. Sometimes people just do really sick things, and there's no real reason for it, right? Kind of like we just saw with Sade Robinson or Sade Robinson. So many people pronounce it differently, but just like with her case there, um, the man met her the whole night before. She would have thought in her mind she thought she was safe, just for him to take her to his house the next day and delete her. Very very wicked, sad case. Not really a lot of understanding there about why he would do something like that, and then to play dumb, like, no, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. Just kind of crazy. I didn't do it, I didn't do it. And I've been seeing people in the chat trying to trigger using certain talking points. And I love that the chat doesn't pay any mind to you guys. Talking about usual suspects and things like that. I'm glad that the chat isn't paying any mind to you guys, right? Because at the end of the day, crime is crime. It's across race, socioeconomic status, right? You can't even just say it's a ghetto people thing. People on all status levels delete people. Maybe there's a family secret involved that they won't reveal. I mean, maybe there is, but we'll never know. Unfortunately, maybe we'll never know. At the end of the day, we might just have to keep guessing. We might think we have the answer one day. We might feel like we got the most correct answer, but right, we just never know. Let's continue with the press conference, though, right? Obviously, there's still a lot of investigating they're doing. This happened only a couple days ago. It's October 10th today. This happened on October 7th. So let's continue with the press conference.
And his parents were in the home when this incident occurred.
Anyone else?
Anything else? Again, appreciate you guys coming out, and just again, if any citizens have any information about Trevor Lee, please give us a call, 904-264-6512, or send us a Safer Watch tip. Thank you.
Real quick, do you know if you've had any incidents at the home? Have you guys ever had to respond to the home?
I don't know the answer to that yet. That's going to be part of the investigative process. Listen, we're still early, very early in this.
Dan says, although I've heard conjecture from some quarters that globally young people are becoming more violent, or is it just our awareness has increased? I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I'm starting to think that our awareness has definitely increased, right? We're paying more attention to young people, and we're understanding their propensity to violence. But I do also think that there is more influence, and there's just more general influence to be violent, whether it comes from technology, social media. We're just seeing more violent things happen, and it's normalized. Country Based said explain why 12% commit 60%. That's not true. That's not true. They account for 60% of arrests, but in terms of committing 60% of any crime, they do not. Maybe crimes against each other, but crimes in general, no ma'am. No ma'am, Country Based. Okay, I let you rock. I didn't hide or show your comment. You can keep twerking, but you will be blocked. Okay, I will utilize the block button. RK says many more violent incidents, bipolar disorders, and unstable people. I think what the difference is here is we have people free. right? There is no state-run mental health institutions. There's no standard mental health institution. Yeah, mental health institutions that we send anybody that have issues with mental health, right? Like before, there's no state-run facilities. We just suddenly have people out in the public who have clear mental health issues, and we don't know how to deal with them. They're in and out. Sorry, they're in and out of the jail system. I meant to put my camera down, not the microphone. Thank you, Dan. Since I totally agree with your analysis, but yeah, you guys don't have to totally agree with me, but I appreciate that you can see my perspective on it, right? Country based. So why do just tell me, why do people from trailer parks commit crimes then? If it's just a gangster culture, is it the country singers that are telling you guys to beat people with your banjos? Because um, bro is just being racist. Yeah, and then he says, "Truth, there is no racism if you think black people can't be racist. You obviously don't know what racism is. You don't know that it's a global structure versus something, an act of prejudice that an individual black person or person of color, like you want to define it, takes. Right? You're just bussy popping in the chat. You're just twerking in the chat. The U.S. has some of the highest amounts of people self-medicating and prescribed antidepressants. Yeah, it's really sad. It's mostly women as well. Country, the boy is half white, and white children have a higher percentage of deleting their parents. What's the stats on that? Ignore the bias confirmation brigade. I hear the same talk in the UK, and the statistics really don't point to the usual suspect rubbish. Yeah, they love using that. Um, Gina says mental health issues affect kids differently than adults. They certainly do. They certainly do. Let's continue hearing from the press conference. Then we'll move on to the next twisted crime tonight.
Detectives, our crime scene technicians are still on scene. This is very, very early in this. Thank you.
Okay, so you just heard the initial press conference, and as she stated that because this incident just happened and it's so early on, then there's a lot of information that they're still working to uncover because the investigation is underway. What they do know is that Trevor, he's 14 years old, he admitted that there was an argument. Based on the argument that they had, he felt the only option was to unfortunately murder both of his parents. Now, in addition to that, you also heard her state that he went to the church, he surrendered without incident, and now there was a follow-up interview that she did where she provided more details, and this is from Law and Crime. So I'm not going to use the full interview. This is just a snippet that's relevant to the new information, and that's what I'm going to play. So listen to this and drop your comments and let me know what are your thoughts. Of course, this is an unfortunate tragedy. He is only 14 years old, and there has been questions about if she is his biological mom because of her name being hyphenated and them not sharing the same last name, but you heard her address that through the press conference as well. So from what they know, it is his biological mom. There's nothing to lead them to believe that it's not his biological mom. But of course, if more comes from that, then I will be sure to keep you guys updated. So listen to this.
Extremely tragic when you have a 14-year-old that feels such a way that the only solution is to kill their parents. We are still very early in this investigation. The suspect has been very cooperative with our detectives and walking us through his thought process, and all of that will be revealed in time. But through the investigative process, we did discover that he had called his sister prior to calling 911. And so that's some new information that we're going to have to track down. His sister is in the military, is stationed in another state. So we're going to have to get her in and interview her regarding this issue, this terrible, terrible incident.
Wow.
And as you can see, like, these investigations take a lot of time, right? Just because these things happen, we analyze, we receive these documents, doesn't mean that everything is moving at the speed of light, right? She definitely has, sorry, there definitely is due process. Things are going to move fairly quickly, but there is also, sorry guys, I like flew up and down the stairs. But is also the detailed investigation that they have to do. Hey Bob, Reese baby, how you doing? Yeah, it's very tragic. Of course, she's his goddamn mother. What the f? Yeah, it's becomes like these type of cases just start to get so bizarre. Yeah, they're a nice looking couple for sure. If he said that, that's a deep argument. Did his parents admit they're Satanists or something? What was the argument? That's what we all want to know. Yeah, I mean it's too much. I don't think we can speculate. They're all gone now. Um, but he's gonna have to give us a damn good reason if this is simply self-defense or whatever. We just don't have that right now.
Wow. That kind of blows my mind. I mean, it does and it doesn't. I mean, he's done something that he's admitted to, and he calls his older sister. Obviously, she's older. She's in the military. Do we have any idea kind of how much older? I mean, is she 18, 19? Yeah.
I don't know how old she is. I know she's old enough to, obviously she's stationed out in, I believe in California. And after he committed this heinous, terrible crime, he called her first. What's interesting is after he shot his parents, he walked over a mile, about a mile and a half, to a church and we believe during that time that he was walking to the churches when he called her, and then when he got to the churches when he called our 911 communication center.
Do we have an idea? I mean, that's another kind of strange thing about this. Do we know why he decided to walk to the church? I mean, I can kind of connect a dot and think that he called his sister to tell her what he did, and she likely told him to call law enforcement. That's right. Where I'm going in my head with that. But why walk to the church?
Well,
and let me just say, it's not that I believe it's self-defense, Monica. I just think, like, they keep implying that he said he had no other choice. Like, this is what he felt like he had to do. So I think because they don't have all the information, they're not going to say that he's claiming self-defense yet, but they're going to look at everything and just kind of see, like, was it mental health? Could this be a manslaughter, right? Could this be something different? Could this be a crime of passion? Things like that. So I'm not saying that he's claiming self-defense. I'm just saying they probably have to tread lightly with the language they use until they have a full picture of what's going on, regardless of what he said. You know what I'm saying? So this is a very new case, guys. August 7th, I believe a lot of this info came out. That's when this video came out. Yeah. He called the police on himself and was like, hey, I deleted my parents. I am wherever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just too much of this that kind of gives that there's more going on. But let's see. We'll find out. Maybe he just simply caught himself after he made a fatal mistake and deleted his parents, right? Being too emotional, responding too emotionally in this case. All right, we're going to move on because she's kind of boring and like they're not really offering a lot yet. There's going to be more coming out with this case in the next few days, guys. So keep on with it. I'm going to come back and add this to another one, and we're going to definitely make sure we get an update. So let's continue on to the next twisted crime. And let me just say this. I don't follow these like drill rapper community situations out of like Chicago or anything like that. So when I hear about these cases, I'm always like in shock. Like seriously in shock because I don't hear about them. I don't follow these. They're not popular. They're not in my newsfeed or anything. So yeah, these always catch me off guard. Our case says self-defense against both his parents. Nah, this kid is clearly not right in the head. Definitely not right in the head. Let's move though to the next case. This is a man who also committed a crime against somebody who gave him life. And as we're going to find out, so much more. All right. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, do all that for me. I'll appreciate it. All right. And just trigger warning, they're going to talk about some things that happened to this man after he gets convicted of the crime that he did against his parent. All right. So do me a favor again, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you.
I built stuff in these streets. People rely on me. They rely on me. You thought I knew or planned that I was gonna be taking care of my brothers and sisters? I'm the reward. This life I built for you is the reward. No, wait, you can leave.
It was a case so disturbing, so deeply personal, that it stunned not just Chicago, but the entire nation. All for a silly reason: a young man killed his own mother, and fate came knocking for him very fast. A rising rapper, known for flaunting his wealth on social media, became infamous not for his music, but for something much darker. In a story that defied comprehension, people struggled to understand the cruelty, but that was only the beginning. What unfolded in the years after his arrest would only deepen the public's shock. Because long after his conviction, after the trial ended and the cameras turned off, prison reports would reveal that Wilson was assaulted behind bars, targeted by other inmates in ways that left even correctional officers disturbed. This is the case of Wilson, a rapper who went from flexing in music videos to serving a 99-year prison sentence.
I'm QC, I'm ballin', and I'm rich, hold up. Doors on the car, go up. See a bad bitch like skirt, hold up. Take her to my home, kiss her on her neck. Get her out her thumb, but not until she's. And, you know, you would think that somebody passed behind this BS, the music wouldn't be ass cheeks. I know she would. This what's wrong with me.
This tragic story unfolded in the bustling city of Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. It pulses with life, known for its striking lakefront skyline, rich jazz and blues heritage, and a deep cultural pride that runs through every neighborhood. Its people are resilient and diverse, tough yet warm, and their sense of identity is rooted in generations of history, hustle, and hometown loyalty. But in 2012, beneath the surface of its vibrant streets, the city struggled with a troubling wave of violent crime that cast a shadow over its communities. Kwame Wilson, born in the early 1990s, says, was in his early 20s when he started pursuing a music career. Going by the name Young QC, he used YouTube and social media to promote his songs and flashy lifestyle. But behind the glitz, there was a hunger for more. More fame, more money, more attention. And it was that hunger, prosecutors would later argue, that led him down a chilling path. It all began with Yolanda Holmes. Yolanda wasn't just Wilson's mother. She was his everything. His provider, his protector, his biggest supporter. By all accounts, Yolanda...
You can't be all that for your kid their whole life. And if you gotta be, something's wrong. Something's truly wrong here. Okay? Yeah, I understand while they're little, but this man is 20-something years old. He's a supposed famous rapper. She didn't need to be still making the sacrifices for him.
Did everything she could to give her son a better life. She was a single mother raising her only child on the north side of Chicago in the Uptown neighborhood.
Mimi did not get in the water. Don't tell the people. Oh.
A hairstylist by profession, Yolanda worked hard to ensure Wilson never went without. She helped him find work, supported his ambitions, and even gifted him a Ford Mustang, customized to his taste, complete with luxury upgrades. To the outside world, Yolanda was a loving mother. To those closest to her, she was generous, selfless, and fiercely devoted to her son. She had no idea that the very person she loved most would one day become the architect of her death. On September 1, 2012, Yolanda Holmes went to bed inside her apartment in Chicago's Uptown neighborhood. At around 4:15 a.m., a man named Eugene Spencer entered the building. He didn't break in. He had been let in by Wilson's then-girlfriend, who drove him to the apartment and gave him access. Inside, Yolanda was sleeping in her bed, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Eugene made his way through the quiet apartment and walked directly into the bedroom where Yolanda lay. He raised his weapon and fired. Yolanda was shot while asleep, caught in one of the most vulnerable states a person can be in. But the violence didn't stop there. Moments later, her boyfriend, who had also been in the apartment, rushed in after hearing the gunshot. A physical struggle broke out. Eugene attacked him and knocked him unconscious, leaving the man lying on the floor, badly injured. Then, Eugene received a mysterious call from his client. The person on the other end of the phone gave a clear and cold instruction. Eugene was told to make sure Yolanda was dead. Following that command, Eugene returned to the bed.
And you would think that this woman was this little boy's worst enemy. You would think she was his worst enemy the way he took her out. Just disgusting. Just disgusting.
Bedroom where Yolanda was already gravely wounded, but he had to be thorough. He stabbed her to ensure she would not survive. The act was not just brutal, it was deliberate. On the morning of September 2, 2012, police in Chicago responded to a call from an apartment building in the Uptown area. When first responders arrived at the apartment, the scene was horrific. Yolanda Holmes had suffered fatal gunshot and stab wounds. Yolanda was pronounced dead shortly after. She was 45 years old. Her boyfriend, though still alive, was unconscious and badly injured from the assault. It was clear to the police that this was not a random home invasion. There was no forced entry, nothing had been stolen, and the level of violence pointed to something far more personal. What they couldn't have known, at least not yet, was just how deeply personal it really was. Officers began their investigation by interviewing neighbors, collecting surveillance footage, and preserving any forensic evidence found at the scene. Soon, they had their first breakthrough. One of their first leads came from the statements of Yolanda's boyfriend, who regained consciousness after the attack. Though he couldn't identify the assailant, his recollection of the struggle painted a timeline. He told investigators the attacker had entered quietly and had one goal. He had targeted Yolanda directly and left with a purpose. That's when detectives started looking closer at Yolanda's life, her routine, her associates, and most importantly, her relationships. The focus eventually turned to her only child, 23-year-old Wilson. At first, there was no direct evidence tying Wilson to the crime, but something about his behavior didn't sit right with detectives. While family and friends mourned, Wilson seemed detached. He was still uploading YouTube videos, still posting on social media, and still flexing money in public. For a young man whose mother had just been murdered, there was little sign of grief. Investigators began looking into his finances, and that's when the red flags really started to emerge. In the weeks following Yolanda's murder, Wilson accessed his mother's accounts and withdrew large sums of money.
You know, I definitely am in agreement with him being a sociopath, psychopath, right? The things that he did are just so bizarre, you know, especially with sending the person that he sent to delete his mom to make sure the job was done, right? She has to be gone. Make sure she's gone. So she gets that first bullet and then sends the guy back in to make sure the job is done. I mean, he's sick. And then just starts blowing her money. To me, that's what's so surprising, so bizarre, right? You're so slick to go hire somebody else to do this, but then you just start blowing her money right away and don't think there's anything suspicious or wrong about that people are going to notice, right? So, Let's keep hearing though. Gito says it's an insurance fraud. We'll see. Hey Joshua, how you doing tonight? Let's keep going though.
Nearly $70,000, 0 cents, disappeared from her savings. Bank records showed him using the funds for customizations on his Mustang, high-end shopping sprees, and excessive cash withdrawals. One viral video even showed him handing out money to strangers on the street, tossing bills into a cheering crowd.
This part made me want to slap fire out him. Just like imagine raising a child, giving them everything that you think that you can give them, and when they get old enough to become their own person, instead of doing that, they delete you so that they can blow through your life earnings and savings, so they can flex for the internet, and they're still amounting to nothing. His music is trash. He's not a popular artist. Nobody in Chicago really knows this idiot other than for being a flexing fool. It's really a tragic situation. Let's keep listening though.
Yeah, man. About to go get this $1,000 out for the fans, man. Really, I'm gonna take out 20,000, man. Just to show people, you feel me? I'm on a whole different level with this, man. I ain't, I take this serious, man. So you can't put me in the same category as the others. You feel me, man? I don't play no games. You feel me? I don't play no games, man. I do this for real, bro. I don't got no problem with giving back, man. I'm the only one out here with a show that's actually giving back, you feel me? And I got proof to show it, you feel me? Shout out to this fan I'm finna go slide on, man. I'm finna take care of you.
That same video, later shown in court, became a symbol of how quickly he had monetized his mother's death. But it was the digital trail, texts, calls, and transactions that ultimately unraveled the truth. Detectives subpoenaed Wilson's phone records. What they found was
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the culpability falls on him. But yes, right, these street dudes, these sick individuals, they absolutely will use a dummy like this who will put himself on the line, put his family on the line, who make himself vulnerable. They'll absolutely use him. And it's very possible, right, that they knew all of this. They knew what he was going to do. They knew he was going to get caught. They knew he was dumb, and they encouraged him anyways, and he did it, right? He went the extra step and set his own family member up. Just very sad. Patty Hodges says it states in the Bible, "You spare that rod, you spoil the child. At a spoiled child will come back to bite you." Mm, 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 mm. One man who accurately described all of this material indoctrination was actually Malcolm X. How do I find the like button? If you just double tap the screen, or if you look straight ahead on the top of the screen to the right, if you're looking at the screen to your right, there's the like button right there, or you can double tap the screen on your phone and it will let you like the stream. So I appreciate you very much for asking. He's probably trying to absolve some of his guilt. Yeah, trust me, those people saw him as a mark. They likely didn't have his wealthy upbringing, would never harm their mom for his approval. Yeah, he's a dummy. He's a whole dummy loser who wanted to be popular, and he was willing to do anything for that. That's just so sad that this woman tried to raise her child in the best way, tries to give him everything because he didn't have his father, and he still spited his mother. Very sad situation here. All right, let's keep watching now.
Was damning. In the days before Yolanda was killed, Wilson had been in contact with a man named Eugene Spencer. Eugene, 22 at the time, had a history of criminal behavior and was known to law enforcement. The frequency and timing of the calls raised alarms. Investigators also discovered that Wilson's girlfriend had given Eugene a ride to Yolanda's apartment on the night of the murder. It was enough to bring Eugene in for questioning. Under interrogation, Eugene admitted to being at the scene. He told investigators that he had entered the apartment, shot Yolanda while she slept, and attacked her boyfriend during the commotion. But what shocked detectives most was Spencer's explanation for why he was there. He claimed Wilson had hired him. He said Wilson promised him money in exchange for killing his mother. Eugene even alleged that during the act, Wilson called to make sure the job was done, telling him to return and confirm she was dead. Detectives now had motive, confession, and a timeline that lined up, so they moved in. On December 20, 2013, over a year after the crime, Wilson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and home invasion. Eugene Spencer was charged alongside him. The news of Wilson's arrest stunned the community.
I ain't gonna say I knew him, but I was like, you know who Christian Cornbread is, right? Mm-hmm. Like Baba's again, Cornbread. Him and Chris was on the Reawakening, and the dude, his mama was too. But Chris went and he did his own show, and that's what I was on. It was called All About Chris, and he had the nigga around, and when he was coming around, he was like, flashy gang, like with the cars that with the doors up and shit, like, and he was. Like, you could tell he had some bread, so I was low key like motivated and wanted to hang around them niggas. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted their age, but yeah, I felt like I had to touch on the situation because like, damn, bro, like I was around dude, not knowing like that's how he got his money, like, and I wanted to like be around him. Like, now I'm glad I wasn't around him, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Some couldn't believe it. Others said they had always felt something was off about him. His lack of emotion at the funeral, his flashy behavior after Yolanda's death. And now, prosecutors were calling him the mastermind behind one of the most cold-blooded crimes in recent memory. Then the police revealed his motive. Police revealed that Wilson had been the sole beneficiary of his mother's life insurance policy. He also had access to her bank accounts and used them freely after her death.
This what's wrong with me.
He didn't just inherit money, he looted it, and investigators argued that he planned the killing specifically to access those funds. In press briefings, officials called it an act of greed. They described how Yolanda had supported her son emotionally, financially, and personally, giving him everything from money to career support. But to Wilson, it still wasn't enough. According to prosecutors, he wanted it all. He wanted fame, power, and money, and he was willing to trade his mother's life to get it. The investigation also turned up more shocking details. Forensic evidence added further weight to the case. Investigators found physical evidence linking Spencer to the crime scene. They also uncovered security footage placing Wilson and his girlfriend in key locations before and after the murder. Witness testimony from friends and family members described Wilson's strange behavior in the days following his mother's death, including his apparent lack of grief and his sudden spending spree. The prosecution now had a timeline, a motive, digital records, and a cooperating accomplice. Everything pointed back to one conclusion. Yolanda Holmes didn't die in a robbery gone wrong. She died in a calculated hit set up by the very son she raised.
Whew. Listen, it's very tragic for her. She did nothing but raise her son, try to give him everything that she could, and this is what he gave her in return. Very, very, very tragic situation. Now, a couple people were asking, Did what happened to him in prison, was it a result of what he did to his mother? Yes, it was. So we're going to get into that now, and this is where I want to issue another trigger warning because the subject matter they're going to discuss is very disturbing. A lot of the times when people utilize street justice in prison, yes, in some ways, quote unquote, people believe that they're executing justice, but at the end of the day, they're also just using that moment as a moment to exercise some deplorable behavior. So that is what happened to this individual in prison. Um, just keep that in mind as we continue the video.
With both suspects in custody, the case moved toward trial. But what the public didn't yet know was that this wasn't the end of Wilson's story. Behind bars, as he awaited judgment, new chapters were already unfolding. Chapters filled with violence, revenge, and humiliation. The same man who had orchestrated the murder of his own mother was now becoming a target himself. And the justice system wasn't done with him yet. As Wilson sat in the defendant's chair in a Cook County courtroom, the evidence against him painted a devastating picture. For prosecutors, this wasn't just a murder, it was the ultimate betrayal. A son who had been given everything by his mother, only to turn around and orchestrate her death. In March 2019, after years of preparation and mounting evidence, both Wilson and Eugene Spencer went to trial. The charges included first-degree murder, attempted murder, and home invasion. The courtroom was tense from the very beginning, filled with media, community members, and Yolanda Holmes' loved ones. Every detail of the plot was dissected before the jury, from the bank withdrawals and surveillance videos to the chilling call Spencer claimed he received mid-murder, urging him to ensure Yolanda was truly dead. Prosecutors presented the YouTube video of Wilson throwing wads of cash into the air for his so-called fans, a visual metaphor for what they described as his obsession with fame and material wealth. They recounted how Yolanda had spoiled her son with gifts, including a Mustang, designer clothes, and a job, yet he still wanted more. More money, more attention, more status. And for that, she paid with her life. They argued that Wilson's motive wasn't just financial, it was rooted in narcissism and entitlement. He didn't just want to be successful, he wanted to be seen as a star. And if that meant sacrificing the person who gave him everything, he was willing to do it. The defense struggled to counter the mountain of evidence. Spencer's own statements pointed directly to Wilson as the mastermind. Forensic evidence supported the timeline. The digital trail confirmed premeditation, and the jury was left to consider what kind of person would set in motion such a gruesome and personal crime. On March 8, 2019, the verdict was delivered. Both men were found guilty on all counts, and then came sentencing. In January 2020, Judge Stanley Sachs addressed the court and the defendants. He didn't hold back. He reminded everyone that Yolanda Holmes had done everything for her son. She gave him love, opportunity, and financial support, and in return, she was betrayed in the most violent and unforgivable way. Then she delivered a crushing sentence. Judge Sachs sentenced Wilson to 99 years in prison. Eugene Spencer received 100 years. The message was clear. This was not only a crime against a person, but a crime against family, trust, and the most sacred bond between a parent and child. In the courtroom that day, Wilson showed little visible emotion. He slouched in his chair and only nodded as the sentence was handed down. When given the opportunity to speak, he said very little, only claiming that no one had loved his mother more than him. But to the people in that room, those words rang hollow. The public response to the case was one of disbelief and outrage. How could someone murder the person who gave them life, and then flaunt the rewards like a prize? In Chicago's uptown neighborhood, where Yolanda had lived and worked as a hairstylist, her absence was deeply felt. She wasn't just another name in the headlines, she had been a beloved member of the community. Her clients remembered her as kind, driven, and stylish. Neighbors spoke of her generosity. Friends called her a devoted mother. Her funeral, held just days after her death in 2012, was attended by many who didn't yet know the dark truth behind her murder. Some noticed that Wilson didn't sit near the front, that he spent most of the service outside, detached from the rest of the mourners. Over the years, family members and loved ones continued to express their sorrow, not just for Yolanda's loss, but for the fact that it came at the hands of her only child. Her cousin, who had once seen Wilson as struggling with grief, would later say that the betrayal cut deeper than any headline could express. And for Wilson, life behind bars has been anything but quiet. By 2015, just a few years into his pretrial detention at Cook County Jail, he was already facing the harsh realities of incarceration. That year, an incident occurred that made headlines and sparked further concern about his safety within the facility. According to official records, Wilson was assaulted during a confrontation on Tier 3G. The incident began when another inmate unexpectedly approached him while he was standing near the phones. Without prior warning or provocation, the man removed the top half of his jail-issued uniform and assumed a combative stance. Wilson initially appeared confused, unsure if the man was serious, but the situation escalated quickly. The attacker threw a punch, triggering a brief fight between the two men. A third inmate attempted to break it up, and for a moment, it seemed like the conflict was over. But just seconds later, the same inmate returned, and this time, the violence intensified. Wilson was cornered again and struck repeatedly. In the chaos, he tried to hold off his attacker until corrections officers arrived to regain control of the tier. Later reports revealed that the attack didn't end with just fists.
It's the 14th of September 2015. Sergeant Contreras is interviewing and remain involved in a 1010 on Tier 3G. What's your name?
Carlene Wilson.
What's your ID number?
2013-12-24-144.
What happened on 3G?
I was standing by the phones, and then that guy, I don't know him. I don't know where he came from. I don't know who he is. He got off the table and took his shirt off. Unbuttoned his jumpsuit and stepped to me and just got in like fighting position. I didn't know if I thought he was playing. I didn't know if he was for real or what. I don't know him. I never seen him before. And then he got real close. And then he swung, and then fight happened. The fight occurred, and then the guy tried to stop it. The other guy tried to stop it, and then it stopped. And then I was looking away. Then next thing I know, when I turned around, he came back up again and tried to swing on me again. And then I just held him until y'all came. And then that's it.
14th September 2015. Sergeant Contreras interviewing an inmate involved in a 1010 on Tier 3G. What's your name?
Malcolm Williams.
What's your ID number?
2015-02-20187.
What happened upstairs on 3G?
An altercation with a young man. Stepped to me, asked me did I want to fight him. I approached him with my fist. We continued to fight, and another guy came in behind me. Other than that, I don't know what happened.
That it?
Yeah.
According to documents that circulated online, Wilson had been assaulted in the shower area and allegedly stabbed multiple times. Details surrounding the incident were difficult to confirm in full due to privacy and security policies within the jail system, but sources close to the facility indicated that he had sustained significant injuries and required medical attention. Despite the brutality of the assault, Wilson survived. The incident immediately drew speculation. Some believed that the nature of his crime, having his own mother murdered, had made him a target in custody. In the jail system, certain crimes are viewed with extreme disdain, and matricide ranks among the most reviled. Others speculated that his brief notoriety as young QC and his history of flaunting wealth may have made him a lightning rod for violence. The betrayal of a mother by her son is one of the most disturbing crimes a community can process. And in the case of Wilson, the fallout continues to echo. His pursuit of fame came at the ultimate cost. And now he is serving a nearly century-long sentence with no chance of freedom. This case wasn't about gang violence. It wasn't about drugs or street feuds. It was about greed, about ego, about a distorted sense of entitlement that turned a young man against the person who gave him everything. Yolanda Holmes didn't die in a robbery gone wrong. She died in a calculated act of betrayal, carried out by someone she trusted unconditionally. It's a haunting reminder that evil doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it grows in silence, inside homes, inside families, hidden beneath the surface. Yolanda Holmes gave her son everything. She tried to keep him away from the streets, away from his father's violent legacy, but ultimately, her kindness and trust were exploited. We owe it to her, to every mother like her, to remember this story. Sometimes justice comes not just in a courtroom, but in stories we refuse to forget.
Oh, very bizarre case. All right, very bizarre. All right, guys. So we are going to move on to the next case. Now I'm gonna start because I'm gonna do Giovanni Pelletier because that one is very, very new. August 1st, he went missing in a very weird, bizarre story that we're gonna hear about. And then his body was found not too long ago. So, okay, guys, take a deep breath. I'm talking to myself. You know, a lot of these stories are just so much, you know. Excuse me. I enjoy hearing about true crime because of the advocacy behind it, the fact that we need to hear about these stories. We need to know how these people were innocently taken away and, you know, speak out against people who commit these types of crimes. But they're heavy. They're heavy nonetheless. All right. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button for me, share, subscribe, anything that you can do to support my channel. I appreciate it here tonight. But I'm going to move on to the next story. We're going to talk about, like I mentioned, Giovanni Pelletier. Now, if you guys watch the news or pay attention to anything, any of the crimes, major crimes that are happening right now, Giovanni Pelletier went missing on August 1st. He went in the middle of the night to go travel with some cousins to visit his father's family. His father's incarcerated, so he has no connection to him, and therefore probably was going to go check out a relationship with that family. Anyways, something bizarre happened after he left to go visit this family in Florida, I guess. Or, yeah, it seems like he's from North Carolina. But anyways, there's some type of missing situation that started out, and then recently, like a day or two ago, his body was found. So let's get into it.
Family vacation turns into a search here in Central Florida. This 18-year-old boy was last seen on Friday right before he went to visit family in Brevard County. And Fox 35's Esther Bauer is hearing from his family.
This 18-year-old has been missing since early Friday morning, and Giovanni Pelletier's family is spreading their search to the Space Coast.
We've been searching for like 3 days in Bradenton County and stuff like that, and we haven't found anything, so we're just pretty much searching literally where we can.
The Charlotte County Sheriff's Office says Giovanni was vacationing with his family in Englewood before leaving around 1:30 in the morning on Friday to visit more family in Brevard County. Investigators say he was traveling north on I-75 with his cousins, who told detectives Giovanni suddenly began to act erratically before getting out of the car and walking away near State Road 70 in Manatee County.
We don't know anything. Only thing we know is that they said they dropped him off on the road.
Giovanni doesn't live in Florida and is from North Carolina. News of his disappearance is spreading like wildfire on social media, and tips are pouring in.
We had just got a bunch of anonymous tips to check this road.
That's why this search party set out on Hammock Road in Mims searching for signs.
My cousin Giovanni was missing for almost 4 days now, and we just want him to come home.
All of these vehicles lining the road were full of friends, family, and volunteers who came out here on Monday morning doing whatever they could to help try and find this missing young man.
I'm super grateful for all the help.
His cousins are thankful for community support, but very concerned.
He didn't leave on his own. He would have been called his mom.
Do you think he was harmed?
I don't know. I don't want to answer that one.
Brevard County deputies were also on scene and spoke with the family during the search. If you know anything about what could have happened to Giovanni, please call 941-639-2101. Reporting in Mims, Esther Bauer, Fox 35 News.
Absolutely. We do want to be clear right now that officials in Florida have not officially identified that body, but it was found in the same area where he went missing. And tonight it is raising even more questions about the circumstances and specifically the people who he was with when he disappeared. While there are still unanswered questions about what happened to Giovanni Pelletier after getting into the car with his cousins in Florida, retired FBI Special Agent Frank Brostrom says knowing where he was supposed to be going gives investigators an easy place to start.
Normally in these investigations, somebody disappears. You have no lead. You don't know who was with them last. You don't know where they were last. And you're kind of starting from scratch.
Since the cousins Gio was with already spoke with investigators, any evidence they find will give them a chance to compare that with what they claim happened.
They're going to do phone work on everybody involved. They're going to interview witnesses. They're just going to lay out and do the whole Monty, lay out the whole Monty on this. And they've got some great leads.
Yesterday, ABC 11 speaking with Gio's stepdad, Jeremy Brown, who says while they were a little skeptical of Gio going with the cousins he hadn't met, Gio was excited to spend time with them.
We have our reservations, but we trust you. We trust that you're going to look out for yourself. We trust you're going to be safe.
That is until that ominous text 20 minutes after he left, asking for help. Gio's stepdad shocked. He was told Gio was left somewhere.
What kind of family are you when you're going to leave your cousin on the side of the road?
But law enforcement experts say that part of the story from his cousins about Gio's alleged erratic behavior isn't adding up.
Adding this part about he was acting strange and pulled a knife on us, and then he's the one texting help, I need help. That story's not going to stand up.
And he says one way or another, the truth will come out.
Their stories are now, they can't change their stories. Their stories are in cement. And the investigators are going to work around those stories and compare it to the evidence. Basic investigations 101.
Yeah, and again, we do have that timetable set in stone. His parents seeing him leave with his cousins, but what happened in that 20 minutes after is going to be crucial to that investigation, Steve.
Cousin pulled out that knife. He was in fear for his life.
Oh, sorry guys. I didn't even realize it was that short. All right, we're going to move on to the next video here. So as you guys saw, the cousins at that moment, at that moment in the investigation, the cousins were, why are there subtitles, people? I think it's just so that this can be a more widely viewed video across continents and things like that. So, okay. But yes, so we saw the cousins let him out of the side of the road, said that he started tweaking, and they just left. And they didn't call the police right away, right? This was way later. So now the cousin has been missing for 8 days. And I'm sorry to say, but this happened yesterday, okay? About a day ago. Let me refresh the screen.
Well, just in the last couple hours, the Manatee County Sheriff's Office confirmed to 10 Tampa Bay News that the body found in a retention pond Friday is believed to belong to 18-year-old Giovanni Pelletier. Now, investigators say an autopsy will allow them to positively identify him. Search and rescue crews helped the family look for Pelletier since he went missing more than 1 week ago. Dive teams recovered his body off of State Road 70 and I-75, the same area where his cousins claim they last saw him. The group drove from Charlotte County to Brevard County to visit family. His cousins told law enforcement he acted, quote, erratic, got out of the car and walked away. His mother, though, is questioning that story because of the last text message she got from him that night.
The first message came in at 1:51, so that's 21 minutes. Kind of chilling. Mom, help. That's what makes it so hard, because we're not sure where the truth lies.
The sheriff's office says an autopsy is set for tomorrow. This will help the medical examiner determine cause and manner of death. We'll be sure to keep you posted as we learn more.
Yeah, Steve and Lauren, you can only imagine how gut-wrenching this past week has been for Giovanni Pelletier's family. They were supposed to have been home here in Fuquay Arena by now, but instead they are still in Florida, desperately continuing that search. It has now been nearly a week since they last saw him, and they're now worried they're running out of time.
When we lay down at night, that's the hard part, because we're not out there searching. It's a lot easier when we're out there searching, because we have that hope, we have the ability to just go to the next place,
Jeremy Brown and his fiancee Bridget, Giovanni Pelletier's mom, are living a nightmare. It all started with a family trip for Jeremy's mom as she was getting her last round of chemo treatment. While he was there, Giovanni asked to meet up with his.
Well, just in the last couple hours, the Manatee County Sheriff's Office confirmed to 10 Tampa Bay News that the body found in a retention pond Friday is believed to belong to 18-year-old Giovanni Pelletier. Now, investigators say an autopsy will allow them to positively identify him. Search and rescue crews helped the family look for Pelletier since he went missing more than 1 week ago. Dive teams recovered.
So, essentially, sorry guys, I didn't realize the video cycled through so quickly. But essentially, they last saw him here, found his body there. Oh, sorry, they picked him up here. They last saw him there, and his body was found. It seems like they drove a decent amount before his body was found, but that's not a good sign, right? How did the family drive that long with him? Or how did he get that far without them having driven far, right? So that means that they were already kind of on their trek by the time that they decided to let him out in the middle of the road, which is, again, why the hell would you do that? This is so sad, very, very, very sad. Was he mixed race, biracial, or whatever the supposed to be politically correct term is? I don't know. They haven't put out a lot of that information, honestly. But I don't know. He never met these cousins before. They were strangers to him. Yeah, they were, Monica. I don't know why he was going. It's sad because he was a grown up, but I feel like somebody should have dropped him off. Should have met the people first, like got their eyes on people. Because this is just such a bizarre situation, But let's continue.
His body off of State Road 70 and I-75, the same area where his cousins claim they last saw him. The group drove from Charlotte County to Brevard County to visit family. His cousins told law enforcement he acted, quote, erratic, got out of the car and walked away. His mother, though, is questioning that story because of the last text message she got from him that night.
The first message came in at 1:51, so that's 21 minutes, kind of chilling. Mom, help. That's what makes it so hard because we're not sure where the truth lies.
The sheriff's office says an autopsy is set for tomorrow. This will help the medical examiner determine cause and manner of death. We'll be sure to keep you posted as we learn more.
All right, so very tragic ending. Again, they were looking for him. They were hoping to recover him. They were hoping that he was just lost. But, I think a lot of the times with phones missing and things like that, it's a pretty bad sign of what happened. Yeah, very weird. There's a reason that he never met them until 18 years old. His mother knows better. These are her family. No, that they're not her family. They were the dad's family. So, and also we're making a lot of assumptions about race and things like that. I don't think we know yet. So I think we should just wait so that this doesn't turn out to be the opposite case and he was killed by his black family and we just sat here and made a bunch of racial epithets without really knowing. So, yes. All right. Next video, guys. I'm not gonna lie. The last few videos that we did were much more intense, twisted crimes. Now we're getting back into body cams and sort of the bizarre situations that are caught on police body camera footage, but maybe didn't rock the nation like the others. So if you're still interested in staying, hanging out with me, watching, make sure you guys hit the like button. I just wanted to give you a disclaimer in case you guys just wanted to see the most bizarre, shocking, scary, popular cases of red rum, right? We're going back to good old-fashioned body cam. And this is a man who deleted his wife, or tried to, and then was surprised to find out that she wasn't actually gone, right? Dan then said these cousins claiming he is erratic. Sorry, let me see. Raises alarms with me. What are they talking about? Why weren't they concerned for his safety? Yeah, that's number one. Like, obviously they're just gonna be blaming him, even if after he's found deceased, because they're trying to make themselves look innocent. They're trying to vindicate themselves. So how did it come about them even hanging out if they didn't know each other? Probably a family member introduced them and they were like, oh yeah, we'll go pick him up. But they didn't really know each other for real. So, all right, let's continue on. Again, we're moving on from that case. Thank you for you guys who stuck out throughout the video with me so far and who are continuing to stick it out. Like the video, share, subscribe. I appreciate it.
Yes.
This is 37-year-old Jimmy Allen. Jimmy just discovered his wife's body in the basement of their Michigan home. 18 minutes earlier, he placed this 911 call.
Okay, what's going on there? She's in the basement. Hold her up. I tried to give her CPR. I pulled her up.
The dispatcher instructed Jimmy to continue giving Amy CPR while several units rushed to the scene. Officer Ben J. Horn was the first to arrive. Despite the desperation in Jimmy's voice during the 911 call, it was eerily silent as Officer Horn approached the residence. However, as soon as the officer made himself known, Jimmy began crying out for help.
Police department. Police department. Hello, help, yes.
Jimmy was found in the basement, sobbing over his unresponsive wife's body. As he grieved, he continued performing CPR.
How long has she been down? Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea?
Give me more than about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Oddly enough, Amy didn't have any significant injuries, except for a very faint mark near her jugular. By 8:57 p.m., more officers arrived, along with several EMTs. They piled into the basement to take over Jimmy's life-saving efforts. Now that Jimmy had a moment to process what was going on, he dramatically ripped his shirt off and broke down on the basement floor. He was able to quickly compose himself and continued to observe the EMTs aiding Amy. Jimmy alternated between complete composure and emotional outbursts several times.
You want to come upstairs with me real quick? Okay.
As you can see, Jimmy seemed calm as he walked up the basement stairs. But as he entered the kitchen, he unleashed his wrath onto an unsuspecting bowl of potato chips. The officers weren't sure what to make of this erratic behavior, especially since they had no clue what led up to the discovery of Amy's body.
Did she make any statements at all?
Jimmy gave the officers a quick summary of his and Amy's night. At around 6:30 p.m., the couple dropped their daughter and her friend off at a nearby high school football game and then headed downtown for some drinks. While at a bar, they got into an argument and Amy ended up walking home alone while Jimmy drove home in their car. When Amy got back home, the arguing continued, so he left her alone to cool off. He went upstairs and threw on the Jim Carrey film Ace Ventura. When it was time to pick up their daughter, he went to check on Amy again.
Was I just irritated and I didn't hear anything, so I went back down and checked on her.
Does Amy have a history of anything like this? Nothing in her background at all?
Ever.
Okay.
The officers found it strange that Amy would escalate things to this degree out of nowhere, but nobody seemed as shocked as Jimmy.
I'm hoping I wake up, dude.
Unfortunately for Jimmy, this was a nightmare that he wouldn't be waking up from. But suddenly, an EMT emerged from the basement with a glimmer of hope.
Huh? What?
Says she's fighting.
The EMTs were able to re-establish a faint pulse, so Amy was still clinging to life. But when Jimmy realized that his wife was still breathing, he seemed frustrated by this promising news. His reaction immediately set off red flags for the officers. Jimmy then left the room momentarily to grab a new shirt, and when he came back, he called his daughter Ashley to inform her of the emergency.
We had an emergency. Don't go anywhere. There's an emergency. Don't go anywhere. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Jimmy didn't want Ashley to panic over the phone, so he kept his composure and didn't share any details of what had happened. But right after that phone call, he called his parents and spilled his heart out.
Oh, I don't know what to do, Mom. I don't know what to do. Oh, this is terrible. I gotta talk to the cops.
Although Jimmy was crying his heart out, the officers spotted no moisture on his face at all. They decided to have him wait outside, away from the crime scene. Shortly after, Amy was placed on a stretcher and taken to the back of an ambulance. They rushed her to the ProMedica Herrick Hospital, just 2 minutes away. The EMTs were finished in the basement, so the officers headed back inside to do further investigation. Now that the dust had settled, they immediately noticed something strange. The basement ceilings were very low, so low that they began to question the logistics of Jimmy's story. Amy was 5 foot 6 inches, and the basement ceiling wasn't much higher, roughly 7 feet. But rather than jumping to conclusions, the investigators decided to wrap things up for the night. The next morning, Officer Horn and his partner returned to the Allen household to ask Jimmy some more questions. They hoped to get a better understanding of what led up to the incident. According to Jimmy, the family started their day in high spirits by making breakfast together and getting Ashley ready for school.
Just listening to music and making lunch and breakfast, smile on her face.
At around 7:30 a.m., Jimmy left for work and Ashley left for school, while Amy stayed home. Jimmy decided to leave work early, so around 12:30 p.m., he came home and took a nap. Then, at 2:45 p.m., the school day was over and it was time to pick up Ashley.
Ashley had a friend over, Kayla, after school. Amy picked her up and I was just in bed. And they came here, she made everybody dinner, 6:30, we rolled out to take them to the game.
After a nice family dinner, everybody hopped in the car and drove to the Tecumseh High School for the football game. As mentioned before, Jimmy and Amy dropped off the girls and decided to head downtown to go bar hopping. They first went to Ember's Bar and Grill, then to JR's Hometown Grill and Pub shortly after. Investigators would later confirm this part of Jimmy's story by obtaining the security footage from JR's. Apparently, nothing seemed out of the ordinary until Jimmy brought up the idea of selling their house and moving down south. Since the family had just moved to Michigan from Florida 1 year earlier, Amy was not fond of this idea. She began texting someone on her phone and became dismissive of Jimmy's comments.
She said a couple of times that, oh, that's not going to work. And she's normally positive and was sort of down and negative. And we started to disagree about it. And she's like, you know, I hope that works out for you. And I'm like, what do you mean me? I'm talking about our life. Like, and this isn't hardcore planning. This is like you talking about, you know, our future. And she just, well, I hope that works out for you.
Jimmy said that this comment sparked an argument between the two. By the time they left the bar, things were very tense. Amy decided that she would rather walk home than sit with Jimmy any longer. This was also confirmed by this surveillance footage, which captured Amy walking down the street, heading in the direction of their house.
And you know, this is how these conversations about real life and who's supposed to make the decisions and who's the leader of the home. This is why those conversations are so stupid, but also dangerous, right? Because if you convince men that they're supposed to have a certain power or ability to dictate in relationships, they might go home and act that out. I feel like if this is the first time the subject was introduced, her being dismissive is not a big deal, right? Sometimes you have to get your partner on board. They're not going to agree with everything you do. They're not going to. I think his response was indicative of somebody who's used to having his needs put to the front while hers go to the back. You know, it's giving that he's a unhinged male who's unable to regulate himself, and so he probably reacted violently to something so simple like her not agreeing with moving after moving a year prior, right? That's a lot to put on children. Let's keep going though.
Amy arrived home at 7:58 p.m. She grabbed an extension cord and then went down to the basement. At 8:05 p.m., Jimmy decided to go check on her.
She's petting Louie, one of our cats, and what the hell are you doing in the basement?
Apparently, Amy was angry at him for slamming the door in her face as they left the bar. But according to Jimmy, it was just an accident. He did forget to hold the door for her, but he didn't slam it intentionally. Amy didn't believe that it was an accident, so she started throwing insults at him, and the two proceeded to argue for about 10 minutes. Nothing good was coming from this argument, so Jimmy went back upstairs, leaving Amy in the basement with the extension cord. About 25 minutes later, at 8:40 p.m., Jimmy realized that it was time to pick up Ashley from the football game. Before he left, he went back to the basement to squash the beef with Amy.
And immediately do that, started, check for a pulse. When I glanced down there, I saw there looked like a upturned kitty litter pail.
Huh.
Because I'm like, like I said, it was just so, sure.
The officer asked if there were any signs that something like this might happen, but Jimmy said that he could never have seen this coming.
You know, spending all night kind of thinking and playing back what triggered what was.
Has she ever tried anything like this before?
Never had anything ever. Like, we live a healthy lifestyle, we work out, we go rock climbing 3 times a week in Ann Arbor. We like cook meals at home, we grow our own vegetables out here, money trouble, no, I mean, this is like the pinnacle of, like, you know, best job I've ever had. I make great money. She's a stay-at-home mom. She takes care of the 5 cats, the pool, and is there for my daughter doing sports and activities.
Sure.
The officer then asked if he and his partner could do a more thorough search of the home, and Jimmy agreed. With the help of their new recruit, Louie, Jimmy's cat, the officer scoured every room in the household, hoping to find any clues that could explain last night's incident. They weren't able to find any bombshell evidence, but they did collect several items that belonged to Amy, including her computer and cell phone. Following their search, Officer Horn headed back outside to speak with Ashley. She was visibly shaken up by the incident, but the detectives needed to know if Amy and Jimmy had a history of violent altercations.
Were your mom and dad fighting at all yesterday that you recall?
No, but everything was normal when I left.
When you left? Okay. Is there a history of the, like, fighting or arguing or anything like that? Nothing ever? Okay.
The officer also asked about Amy's state of mind, but Ashley said that even though her mom was a deeply introverted person, she had always been emotionally stable. This interview wasn't as fruitful as the officers had hoped, but shortly after, they were approached by several of Amy's family members. They said that Jimmy waited 14 hours to tell them about the incident. As soon as they heard the news, they rushed over to the police department because they had an abundance of useful information for the police. The investigators learned that back in 1997, when Amy was just 13, she had a son named Caleb. Her parents looked after Caleb while she attended high school in Ocala, Florida. By the end of high school, she began dating Jimmy, who had no problem becoming a father figure to Caleb. When Amy was 19, they had Ashley, and from that point on, Amy stayed home to take care of the kids while Jimmy worked.
Jesus Christ. Let me just say this. Had a kid at 13. Not judging her, but the daughter, she was already manipulated. She had already been groomed in relationships. They don't talk much about who the father of that child is. You know, there's a lot going on with this girl. His daughter, she was fed up and going to leave him, taking the kid with her. Yeah. She was already somebody who probably suffered. I just think, like, what makes people think her having a kid at 13 is just her being promiscuous? Like, do we not understand there's more going on there? She probably wasn't impregnated by a 13-year-old, right? A lot of the times that's not what is happening here. So, I mean, all right, we're going to watch a little bit more. And then I am going to say sayonara to you guys because I'm exhausted and it's 11 o'clock at night. Well, I'm not really tired, but I want to go do other stuff. So, and we've been here almost 3 hours. So we're going to watch a little bit more of this, and I'll send you guys off for your evening. Thank you for joining me. Do me a favor. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, and I'll appreciate it. All right, let's continue.
Worked. However, according to Amy's family, this wasn't her choice. They believed that Jimmy was a controlling husband who didn't want Amy to become financially independent. He would monitor everything the family did, from their social media activity to what they were eating throughout the day. He would also discipline the kids if he believed they were misbehaving, frequently taking things too far. Whenever Amy stood up to Jimmy, her opinion didn't seem to matter. Whatever Jimmy wanted, Jimmy got. So when Caleb turned 17, he left to stay with his grandparents. Jimmy retaliated, telling Amy that she was no longer allowed to speak with her family, including Caleb. One of the last times Caleb saw her was at his high school graduation a year before the incident. But other than that, Amy had minimal involvement in Caleb's life. All of this evidence was extremely damning for Jimmy. It wouldn't be a surprise if an abusive and controlling husband tried to murder his wife. But if the police wanted to bulletproof their case against Jimmy, they needed to answer one big question. What was Jimmy's motive? Unfortunately, before the investigators could answer this question, they received tragic news. On September 17, 2018, after being unresponsive for 3 days, Amy was taken off of life support and pronounced dead. With a possible homicide now on their hands, the authorities pressed on with their investigation. They decided to look for answers in Amy's cell phone. In her text with Jimmy, his controlling behavior was on full display. He had somehow been tracking Amy's every move. He would frequently text Amy her exact location and ask her why she was there. Despite all of Jimmy's torment, Amy seemed completely fine in her other conversations. This evidence strengthened the case against Jimmy, but the detectives still couldn't pinpoint an exact motive. That was until they looked through a conversation with a man named George. George was a married man from the East Coast that Amy had met online and had been texting for the past 3 years. Based on the explicit content of the messages, it was clear that they were having an affair. Even on the day of the incident, Amy and George were consistently texting and calling each other. While Amy was having dinner with her family at 5:07 p.m., George texted her saying, "I wish we could be together right now." At 5:29 p.m., Amy responded with, "I'm excited to see you again." And remember when Amy began texting somebody during the argument at JR's Grill and Pub? It turns out that she was texting George, even with Jimmy sitting directly beside her. From these findings, a new theory emerged. Perhaps Jimmy had caught a glimpse of these text conversations and was overcome with anger, which ultimately led to him attacking Amy in the basement. The investigators...
Crime of passion, right? That makes a lot of sense. Doesn't justify it at all, but that makes a lot more sense. That also explains why he's so emotional as well when the police got there and overly dramatic, right? Because he knows the reason why he killed her is wrong, but that came from a place, right? A place of brokenness, of sadness, of jealousy, all of that, right? All right, let's continue.
Were eager to ask Jimmy some more questions, but they ran into a small problem. Jimmy was nowhere to be found. It turns out that just a few days after the incident, Jimmy and Ashley packed their belongings, including their 5 cats, and headed back to their hometown, Ocala, Florida, to stay with family. Thankfully, the authorities were easily able to get in touch with Jimmy to arrange another interview. He told them that he would be back in Michigan in a few weeks to grab some of his stuff. Since the Tecumseh Police Department had limited personnel and resources, the Michigan State Police had taken over the investigation, and Detective Larry Rothman was put on the case. 1 month after Amy's death, he met Jimmy at the station for a formal interview. During his stay in Florida, Jimmy had plenty of time to reflect on his relationship with Amy, and he was forthright with the detective about his shortcomings.
It wasn't so inner focused and self-focused. Maybe I could have seen some things that were going on that maybe could have clued me into what my life was in so much turmoil that I couldn't even see it. I mean, that's how it feels. Like, I don't even know who I am.
It's hard to believe this statement from Jimmy, because moments later, when asked to describe himself, he gives an awfully detailed answer.
Describe yourself. What kind of a person are you?
I would say I'm a type A personality. I like structure, organization. I'm ambitious. Always seeking to improve myself and others around me. That's why all this is so pressing to me, is because...
Wow, he is incredibly self-centered, right? Incredibly.
Because, like, I had really taken measures in the last couple of years to, like, make sure that myself, my family were, like, mentally fit, like, mentally healthy, like, pursuing things that not only get you physical, like, but helping others, being kind, making it, like I said, making the same thing, that type of person I am, making a positive impact on people.
Without a doubt, Jimmy's obsession with creating the perfect family was immensely toxic. However, Jimmy seemed to take pride in this toxic behavior, framing it as a strength. He believed that his role in the family was to hold them to a higher standard. No matter how much Jimmy painted himself as an upstanding family man, the detectives weren't buying it.
Looking back now, where you're at now, does anything pop out at you?
Yeah, there's, I mean, my wife had some issues, and
what kind of issues?
She struggled from, like, social anxiety, so been like that for years. She's just extremely shy, introverted person. She never developed relationships in Ocala. She didn't have any friends. She was playing like video games compulsively, that World of Warcraft thing. That got out of hand, so she just sort of started isolating herself. And so I had taken measures when we got up here to help her break out of it.
Jimmy is painting himself as a valiant savior, guiding his wife away from her bad habits towards a healthy lifestyle. But as we mentioned earlier, everybody who was close to Amy said that Jimmy was the main cause of her isolation. While asking Jimmy about infidelity in the relationship, he revealed that Amy wasn't the only one cheating.
There was one time when I went to the Isle of Man and hooked up with this chick.
Anytime during your marriage, do you know if she was unfaithful to you?
I don't think that would be possible.
Why is that?
She didn't seem to have the capacity to talk to people, man. I mean, she was incredibly introverted.
Clearly, Jimmy underestimated Amy's charm. Later in the interview, the detective set the record straight, bluntly telling Jimmy that Amy was in fact having an affair.
What was your knowledge of her affair?
I don't think she had an affair. To my knowledge, I have no idea. I wouldn't think it was possible.
He doesn't want them to know that he knows, right? He doesn't want them to think, oh, you deleted her because she was having an affair. That's why he's playing dumb.
There was a lot of stuff that she had tried to delete there, but, I mean, we're talking, telling this other guy she loves him.
I think that you're bullshit.
I'm not. I'm not going to lie to you today, and I haven't. So
I'll just tell you right now, I don't believe it.
Jimmy seemed to be in denial, so the detective printed off some excerpts from Amy's conversations with George, some more risque than others.
And then the chats lead up to the 14th, the same day that this happened. Clearly there was something going on between these two people.
As someone who had a say in every aspect of Amy's life, he seemed completely blindsided by her secret life with George. He wanted more answers.
Can you pull phone records to see if there's any numbers that I can see that I don't recognize? And that, to me, is crushing to think that she even has some alternate. I legitimately, I still don't all the way believe you guys. I'm sorry. I don't think that she has the capacity to do that. Like I said, this is the most shocking, I can't even process it.
In a last-ditch effort to elicit a confession, the detective asked Jimmy if he would take a polygraph test. Jimmy agreed and maintained his innocence the entire time. Ultimately, the test results were inconclusive. The detective wrapped up the interview, less certain about Jimmy's involvement than before. Jimmy was allowed to leave, and he went back to Florida later that day. The police struggled to find any new leads, so they had no choice but to wait for the medical examiner to release Amy's autopsy report. That day finally came 3 months after Amy's death. It was confirmed that the cause of death was strangulation asphyxiation, but the manner of death was undetermined, requiring additional investigation. The ball was back in Detective Rothman's court, but finding more evidence to determine whether or not this was a homicide was easier said than done. He meticulously looked through all of the evidence, including the body cam footage. He stumbled upon the moment that Officer Horn noticed how low the basement ceiling was, and he suddenly had an idea. Rothman reached out to a forensic engineering lab in Michigan and asked them to recreate the scenario Jimmy had supposedly stumbled upon. After many months of preparation, testing, and analyzing the results, the lab determined that under the same circumstances, her feet would have made contact with the ground. A different forensic pathologist reviewed the same test results, and they determined that her manner of death must have been a homicide. On October 16, 2020, Jimmy was charged with 1 felony count of open murder. This meant that if the case went to trial, it would be up to the jury to determine the degree of homicide Jimmy is guilty of, anywhere from involuntary manslaughter to first-degree murder. By this point in the investigation, it appeared that Jimmy, who was still staying with his parents in Florida, had moved on entirely. In fact, he even had a new fiancée, and their wedding.
Yeah, he's a little delulu to think he was just gonna kind of move forward and nothing was gonna happen. Yeah, you went to jail, buddy. And you're probably still in jail. Now, I don't have the patience to get to the end of the video. I'm a little tired, not gonna lie, guys. I want to get into my pajamas. Want to go lay down on my bed. But Thank you all for joining me here tonight. I will link the videos at some point. I'm trying to figure out how to do that without just having people steal my content and repurpose it. Or not even my content, but like the stories that I cover and repurpose it, you know? Anyways, thank you all for joining me here tonight. I'm going to send you guys off with some music, some AI music. Okay, some AI music. And I hope you all have a great, lovely evening. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Awesome!
Florabella on my screen. Her smile, it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene. In the morning or the night, recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong, she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong, she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong.
Battles got power, Florabella stands tall. Every drip, every drop, watch the haters fall. Channel sharp as thorns, ain't taking no mess. Scroll through her feed, feel that queen's finesse. Vines tangle tight, but Flora breaks free. Roots so deep, can't mess with her tree. From the mud she rises, roses from the dirt. Every comment section she lays down hurt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. From the garden green to the concrete wall, Florabella, unstoppable nature's child. Leaves whisper secrets, she's the loudest shout. From the channel buzzing, she never backs out. Seed of strength, through season she grows. In the face of doubt, her spirit glows. Cameras ain't a limit, she branches out. Thorns in her crown, she wears it no doubt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. resilient, resolving no lesser. Florabella's brain strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless.
Alright, guys, do me a quick favor. Right? Scroll up to your phone. Check yourself out in the stream. Do me a favor and just double tap that screen for me, okay? Double tap that screen for me, okay? I'm gonna send you guys off. Thank you so much for joining me again. I appreciate you. Appreciate you guys liking the stream, sharing, subscribing. It's much appreciated by me. All right, guys. I will see you on the next one. Hopefully, you all enjoyed the show. And hopefully you get a chance to decompress after, right? Because hearing about crime is fascinating, but it can be draining. So make sure you take care of yourself. Thank you all so much for joining me.